Qianbei, us Wanbei are both disciples of the Black Capital sect. Please forgive us once, the Black Level man begged. Qianbei, us Wanbei are both disciples of the Black Capital sect. Please forgive us once, the Black Level man begged. Black Capital sect? Yemo felt that name was familiar. He remembered that after he killed Daoist Xian, he got a card that read Black Capital. So, they were from Daoist Xian sect. Thinking about this, Yemo was no longer in the mood to ask any more questions, so he just threw 2 fireballs casually. After this, Yemo headed to the cold woman's place. When Yemo arrived, he felt something wasn't right. The woman hadn't gotten there at all, which meant that she ran away as soon as he saved her. Did she know that he wanted to look at the things she got last night? That was impossible. She didn't know who had brought her back last night. Yemo frowned. She was such a cunning woman. Yemo felt she had some enmity towards him, but he couldn't understand why. Yemo shook his head and stopped thinking about it. The woman's power didn't pose any threat to him. Even if she got something related to immortal cultivation, without resources she was still no threat to him. After a while, Yemo was sure that the woman wouldn't be coming back, so he left the hotel in disappointment. When Yemo came back to the top floor of his hotel, he found Zhang Hua sitting there talking to Han Yen. The two saw Yemo arrive and both got up. Zhang Hua, why are you here? Yemo asked strangely. Zhang Hua quickly bowed. Qianbei, I got the Black Rising pill and I know that if I didn't come here, I would have no place to go. Yemo immediately understood. Zhang Hua was very smart to think of coming to his place. He knew that no one would dare to rob at his place. Yemo nodded and said, Okay, you can stay here. He didn't mind the youth borrowing his power. Yi Qianbei, Wanbei is a disciple of the Wu Dang Guanyao Temple. My master has passed away, and Wanbei is sure that people would be interested in my Dao technique if I go back. So I have no place to go now. If Qianbei's sect needs disciples, Wanbei is willing to join Qianbei's sect, Zhang Hua said respectfully. So it was another lone wolf. Zhang Hua wasn't stupid. He knew he had caught everyone's attention. That smart young man was indeed a good seed. His flowing snake needed people like him. Thinking about this, Yemo said, I don't have a sect, but I have a pharmaceutical company called Luoyu. If you want to join, you can go to Flowing Snake. I'm not that much older than you, no need to call me Qianbei. Yes, big brother Yi, I'm willing to join Luoyu. And I'm also skilled in making medicine. Zhang Hua immediately replied. Okay, in that case, you two can leave tomorrow. Zhang Hua to Flowing Snake, Han Yen, you can go back to Beijing. There will be things happening tomorrow, and I might not be able to take care of you guys. It's best for you guys to leave early. Yemo decided. The next morning, Yemo sent Zhang Hua and Han Yen away before going back to the Broken Top Mountain. If it weren't for that spirit well, he wouldn't have even come back. There were obviously less people now. Those sects that got the Black Rising pill probably left. Yemo scanned the elders of Gourd Cave and didn't notice anyone missing. If the Gourd Cave didn't kill him first, they wouldn't dare attack Han Yen and the others. Feng Wu walked on the stage and said, Today is the last day of our Hidden Sects tournament. Those who can compete today are the elite of their sects, geniuses amongst geniuses. Every one of them is our wealth, so I hope everyone can control themselves and stop appropriately. No need to cause unnecessary injuries. Okay, let the match begin. Hold up. Before Feng Wu got off, a sudden voice interrupted him. Everyone looked at the person, wanting to know who he was. A black-clothed man with a young man in his 20s approached him and walked straight to the stage. The man saluted with his fists and said, It's said that all the heroes of China are gathered here today. I wish to bring my disciple to compete as well to see if the Chinese masters aren't just pushovers. Feng Wu frowned. If that person could walk there just like that, it meant that the people outside had all been beaten down. It was no ordinary person, but why was he using that provocative tone? Feng Wu couldn't believe everyone was as crazily strong as Yemo. Thinking about this, he rejected it. I'm very sorry, but our tournament has limited spots, and today is the final match. If you want to watch, then please get off the stage, but if you're here to cause trouble, then don't blame me," Feng Wu said. The man kept saying, "You Chinese people," which meant that he must not be Chinese. "So, does this mean that the Chinese martial artists do not dare to accept our challenge?" the black-clothed man said. "You came looking for trouble. What is your name?" "No matter which corner you came from, I, Feng Wu, will take the challenge," Feng Wu said coldly. "Great, courageous. Where I'm from is not important. I heard that you only have 12 people left in your tournament. I only have one disciple. Your geniuses can take turns to fight him. If anyone beats my disciple, I'll admit defeat, but if all 12 are no match for my disciple, then my request is simple," the black-clothed man said as though he was going to win for sure. Feng Wu's eyes narrowed. "Your disciple has no right to compete. Our spots in the tournament were already decided, but if you want, I can exchange some moves with you." "You!" The black-clothed man looked at Feng Wu contemptuously and said, "You're no match for me. If you want to fight, that's fine, but I need a reward." "Is this the request you were talking about?" Feng Wu said contemptuously. The black-clothed man laughed. "That's right. This is my request. If I win, I get the 4 crystals." "Keep dreaming." Xiang Mingwang stood up abruptly. The man's face didn't change at all, and he said slowly, "In that case, do you have no faith in beating me?" "Ha ha. China, the so-called country of ancient martial arts heritage, doesn't even have the courage to fight me. What a joke! Such an arrogant fool. I'll teach you a lesson today." Feng Wu was about to attack. A middle-aged man suddenly jumped out and said, "Martial brother, you don't need to deal with insects like him. Leave it to me." Feng Wu saw it was Jing Chao and immediately nodded. Although his martial brother loved stealing the show, he was a good fighter indeed. Even he would need to put some effort to take him down. Thinking about this, he said, "Be careful." Seeing this, the black-clothed man said to the young man, "Chihu, watch how master teaches people lessons." "Yes, master." The young disciple got off the stage. Jing Chao sneered and grabbed the long sword from his back. "Coward who doesn't dare to tell us his origin, get ready." Jing Chao's sword she covered the surroundings as he charged at the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man laughed pridefully, and 2 short blades appeared in his hand. Just when everyone was surprised by his weapon, the man's blades clashed with the long sword. After crackles of sparks, the man's body twisted unbelievably and landed a shot on Jing Chao's back. Jing Chao hadn't expected it, and immediately spat blood, but before he could even fall on the ground, he was kicked off the stage. Everybody at the scene fell into silence. An earth-level tertiary master had been kicked off the stage. The black-clothed man was too strong. No one saw how the black-clothed man kicked Jing Chao off the stage. Feng Wu looked on in disbelief. He was sure that he wouldn't be able to kick Jing Chao off as easily. No one saw how the black-clothed man kicked Jing Chao off the stage. Feng Wu looked on in disbelief. He was sure that he wouldn't be able to kick Jing Chao off as easily. Yemo frowned. He saw clearly that the black-clothed man's moves were filled with eeriness, and so was his inner qi. His inner qi might not be as strong as Jing Chao's, but Jing Chao was obviously not used to this ghostly way of fighting. Just then, the black-clothed man had twisted his body into a double helix shape. It was very brief, but Yemo picked up on it with his spirit sense. Yemo was sure that if the man used a style of fighting Jing Chao was used to, victory would be hard to predict. As for him, the threat this black-clothed man posed was far less than Wang Lenshan because under his spirit sense, this black-clothed man's elusive moves were clear as day. But for others it was different. Even Wang Lenshan wouldn't be able to be certain of victory if he wasn't familiar with the black-clothed man's moves. Unless Wang Lenshan used his killing blow as soon as he came out, but who would use those killing blows that had strong aftereffects immediately? This petty power, yet you dare act cool? The black-clothed man seemed to have done something insignificant as he tapped his hands. Feng Wu's eyes went cold. Even if he was no match for this person, he had to attack. Otherwise, his Jiuming Academy would lose face. Seeing Feng Wu wanted to fight him, the black-clothed man said plainly, "Since you're agreeing to fight me, that must mean that if you lose, you will give the crystals?" Feng Wu said coldly, "You've got your sly schemes, but those crystals don't belong to me. There's no way you can have them." Feng Wu had to be careful. The black-clothed man laughed. "Is the country with the biggest ancient martial arts heritage too scared to even bet this much? I'll be frank here, I came here for the crystals today. If you don't want to fight, that's fine. Just say that you Chinese ancient martial artists are no match for me. Shameless thing, let me test how strong you are." Zheng Jingxia stood up and pulled out the sword he had gotten from Yemo. "Humph, I'm ready to fight anytime, anyone. But if you come, that means you accept my challenge and you will give the crystals if you lose," the black-clothed man said. Feng Wu waved his hand. "Since you're so confident, let your disciple come first, and I'll choose a disciple from our side." "Okay, Shihu, go test how genius those Chinese geniuses really are," the black-clothed man sneered. Feng Wu stopped Zheng Jingxia and said quietly, "This person is a bit strange. We didn't even see how he knocked Jing Chao off the stage. I suggest watching his disciple first, and then we can attack." Zheng Jingxia agreed. Yemo sighed. With the unpredictability of those moves, this black-clothed man's disciple would likely win. If Zheng Jingxia's personal disciple were to go on, Yemo would need to help. Thinking about this, Yemo started to prepare some wind blades. At this moment, that Shihu walked up and said, "Anyone dare fight me?" As soon as he spoke up, a black-level primary stage youth jumped on the stage. "Some shameless coward dares to challenge our China? You're asking to die." This young man was one of the final 12. He whipped his whip towards that Shihu as he spoke. Shihu heard this, and his face sunk. He also took out 2 blades that resembled rulers. At this moment the whip was already nearing him. If he didn't dodge, he might be split in half by that. At the moment the whip arrived, Shihu fell to the ground as though whipped down, but Yemo knew that the whip hadn't touched him at all. Yemo sighed. This youth holding the whip was going to be in trouble. As expected, before the young man could even let out a laugh, he suddenly had a fearful expression on his face, and soon fell dead on the stage. Yemo had noticed that Shihu's body became a lot longer when he fell to the ground, and it extended to the youth's back before Shihu smashed his ruler into the young man's heart. "Martial brother Wei!" A cry of agony sounded from below the stage. A man jumped up and pulled out his sword, about to kill Shihu, but before he could properly thrust his sword, Shihu had disappeared. When everyone focused on the stage again, the man who had jumped on it was already dead. Cause of death could be guessed from the hole in the back of his head. This was too ghastly. No one had seen how the eerie youth attacked. Only Feng Wu and Zheng Jingxia had seen a little. The scene sunk into silence. This pair of master and disciple was too creepy. No one could see how they attacked, and they left no attacker alive. Even Feng Wu and the furious Xiang Mingwang fell silent. What will only those 2 be coming up? Does China have no one left? The black-clothed man challenged in contempt. "I'll go up." A handsome youth got up full of anger. It was Shi Zhongji, the number 1 ranked seed. Feng Wu said, "Without my orders, Jiuming Academy must not fight." Yemo said to Zheng Jingxia, "Brother Zheng, tell your personal disciple, Zheng Shiho here, to come. I'll teach him a move and let him go up." Zheng Jingxia called Zheng Shiho over without hesitation. If it were someone else, he would think they were trying to harm his disciple, but not Yemo. Zheng Shiho had been itching to go, so now that his master let him, he wanted to charge up without hesitation, but he was stopped by Yemo. Yemo gave a stack of wind blade rune papers to him and said, "Don't talk to him when you get up there. He isn't as strong as you. He's only relying on some eerie movement technique. You just need to throw this stack of rune papers and shout out Lin." "Yes, martial uncle." Zheng Shiho took the paper respectfully. Due to his master, everyone in 36 River respected Yemo. Yemo had made an entire set of wind blade rune papers this time. It wasn't like a single rune paper. He had proper killing intent for this cruel Shihu. Zheng Shiho walked onto the stage. Shihu looked coldly at him. How nice, having the guts to die. You're better than those cowards. China has a few fighters at least. Zheng Shiho simply pinched his 2 fingers in the air, imitating the killing of an ant. Seeing this, Shihu had aggression show on his face. We'll see how cocky you are after I kill you. At the same time, Zheng Shiho threw out that stack of rune papers and yelled. Lin! Zheng Shiho felt countless blade rays and blade chi flash across his eyes, and all he thought was, what a strong sword chi. Splash, blood shot out everywhere. Even Zheng Shiho was dazed. He knew that the rune papers Yemo gave him would be useful because he had seen Han Yan use them, but he didn't expect them to be this strong. This Shihu was actually killed without resistance. Soon after, Zheng Shiho wanted to vomit. Shihu's head and feet had been completely split apart. Huh! It took that black-clothed man a while to react. His beloved disciple was split into a bunch of pieces? In his fury, the man charged up the stage and raised his metal ruler to smash it down on Zheng Shiho, but he somehow missed. When he realized what had happened and saw Yemo take away Zheng Shiho, he didn't continue his attack. Yemo looked at him coldly. Just with your meager strength, you dare act cocky and have designs on the crystals, you Japanese? The black-clothed man calmed down, and nose showed the fury he had before. He said with extreme frigidness, I, Yoin Karu, challenge you to a fight. If you lose I can let you go, but you must give me him. He pointed at Zheng Shiho. Yemo said plainly, Talk after you win, you can't win with your mouth. The black-clothed man's expression got ugly. He suddenly clashed the 2 rulers in his hands and, just when everyone wondered what he was doing, he disappeared on the spot. The black-clothed man's expression got ugly. He suddenly clashed the 2 rulers in his hands and, just when everyone wondered what he was doing, he disappeared on the spot. Everyone watching the fight shivered. What sort of martial arts could make someone disappear for a brief moment? Anyone would be caught off guard in that situation. Although Yemo was strong, could he dodge an invisible attack? Even Zheng Jingxia was worried, since it was the highest level of ninjutsu. Before everyone could think, there was a howl of pain. Everybody focused on the 2 people fighting on the stage. Yemo stood where he was without moving, but the black-clothed man had lost an arm. After a moment of silence, the crowd burst into applause. The black-clothed man was too cocky and he was undermining Chinese ancient martial arts. Although no one had seen how Yemo had cut the black-clothed man's arm, it wasn't important now. Only Xiang Minghuang looked unhappy. He didn't expect Yemo to be that strong. It would have been hard for him to fight the black-clothed man, but Yemo could instantly cut off his arm. What he didn't know was that in a real fight in Yemo's eyes he was much stronger than the black-clothed man. At this moment Yan Kai, who had been gone for some time, came over and whispered something to Xiang Minghuang's ear. Xiang Minghuang heard this and his expression got even unhappier. After a long while, he sighed and nodded. The black-clothed man didn't seem to care about the arm that was cut off, and instead looked at Yemo and said, You can see where I truly am? Yemo sneered. Even ghosts were visible under his spirit sense, much less that little trick. I'm no match for you, what is your name? I will come back in the future for payback. The black-clothed man appeared cruel. Yemo said plainly, You won't have a future. Since you've come, there's no need for you to leave. China is a big country, is this how you treat your guests? This tournament is just a meeting, does it mean you must die if you lose? Just when he was going to keep talking, Yemo threw a wind blade at him. Yemo still wanted revenge for the Japanese men who had captured Qingshua's plane. Now there was no way he was going to let the black-clothed man get away. The black-clothed man suddenly sneered. Do you want to kill me? Keep dreaming, Lord Black Sun won't let you go. At the same time, the black-clothed man disappeared from the stage. Everyone looked at Yemo, who was standing alone on it in shock. What was that martial art technique? Had he just disappeared again? Yemo said slowly. Playing this trick in front of me will be your demise. Then Yemo kicked a ruler that was on the stage. It flew up like a comet, hitting the black-clothed man, who was trying to run away through the door, and it pinned him on a post. The metal ruler pierced through his neck. Everyone looked at the post in astonishment. They didn't know how the black-clothed man had gotten already to the door. How long had it been? The black-clothed man grabbed the ruler. He wanted to say something, but he could only make strange sounds. Yemo walked up to him and said coldly, "Your earth mobility is quite good." After hearing this, the black-clothed man rolled his eyes and died. Yemo took out a black sun badge from his clothes and he thought about it. He hadn't had time to find them, and yet they were already messing with him again. Yemo put the badge away, but he was even more confused. He didn't know why these people wanted the crystals nor how they knew about the spirit well and the crystals. Yemo was sure that they didn't know where the spirit well was, just like them, otherwise they would go straight there. Feng Wu thought he was already overestimating Yemo, but he had clearly underestimated him once again. If he had gone on the stage, he wouldn't have been able to beat that easily the black-clothed man's eerie moves. It was very likely that he would have lost the match, and his life as well. But Yemo had killed him quite easily. Seeing Yemo return to his seat, Zhengzhengxia smiled and said, "Brother Yi, nice kill. How can a mere Japanese guy dare to act cocky at the heart of the ancient martial arts sects?" Feng Wu could only come and congratulate him too. Then, he announced, "Now, let the tournament continue." The top 3 were decided soon after that. They were Shi Zhongji, Zheng Shiho and Yi Shuang from the Lian Hengjing Temple. Lu Ran should have been in the top 3, but he had been killed, hence, the Gourd Cave didn't have one of theirs in the top 3. This made Xiang Emingwang hate Yemo even more. The award ceremony was coming up next, but Yemo didn't care. He only cared about how to get to the spirit well. Where was this place? If it was a place with spirit chi, they couldn't blame him for taking it all. Resources were scarce there, and he had used all possible means to finally reach chi gathering middle stage. Without luck he would never reach stage 5, even if he cultivated for another 10 years. So if there were any resources that could cause a breakthrough, he would take it. Yemo's logic was that power comes always first. Without power you are nothing. If he hadn't reached stage 4, he would have been completely devoured by many people. After the tournament ended and all the guests left, the ghost city returned to its original peace. The tournament had been very turbulent. Despite many people thinking it had been due to Yemo, no one dared to say anything about it. Yemo wouldn't care about what they said either. Now, he was preparing to go with Feng Wu, Xiang Mingwang and Zhengzhengxia to the spirit well. Zhengzhengxia didn't know where it was and Xiang Mingwang and Feng Wu had no intention of telling them. After seeing everyone leave, there were only the 4 grand judges and the top 3 left. A total of 7 people. It wasn't long before 2 helicopters landed there. Feng Wu stood up and said, "Regardless of past discords, I hope that everyone will prioritize the big matters. The spirit well is everyone's hope for ascension. We need to work together to open it." Then, Xiang Mingwang arranged for Zhengzhengxia and the top 3 to go on one helicopter. After that one left, Feng Wu was just about to go on the second helicopter when Xiang Mingwang suddenly said, "Brother Feng, we've been in this city for so long, don't you think it would be a bit rude if we just left like this? Regardless, the government has helped us a lot with the tournament. I think we should go say goodbye before we leave. How about you guys leave first? I'll say goodbye and come back." Hearing this, Feng Wu thought for a second and then nodded. "Brother Xiang is right. How about Brother Xiang and Brother Yi leave first? It's more suitable for me to do it like this." Yemo felt something was off. If it was Feng Wu bringing this up, he would feel it was normal, but it was Xiang Mingwang. The helicopter rose up very quickly with only Yemo, Xiang Mingwang and the pilot in it. Yemo and Xiang Mingwang didn't talk. He felt like it was too strange. Xiang Mingwang organized 2 separate helicopters, and Feng Wu was also sent away by him. Yemo knew that Xiang Mingwang probably had some schemes going on, but he wasn't afraid. The helicopter rose up very quickly with only Yemo, Xiang Mingwang and the pilot in it. Yemo and Xiang Mingwang didn't talk. he felt like it was too strange. Xiang Mingwang organized 2 separate helicopters, and Feng Wu was also sent away by him. Yemo knew that Xiang Mingwang probably had some schemes going on, but he wasn't afraid. If it weren't that he wanted to find the crystals, Yemo would have really wanted to kill Xiang Mingwang right then and there. Xiang Mingwang sat down and never said a thing. 1 hour later, Yemo noticed a snow mountain underneath the helicopter. The mountain was at least tens of kilometers long, and its peak pierced into the clouds, making it quite a spectacular view. Yemo decided that once he got the spirit stones, he would have a good look around it. "Is this the Nei Snow Mountain?" Yemo asked subconsciously. He suddenly thought of that ancient tomb the Fu brothers had talked about. Was all that here? Although Yemo was talking to himself, Xiang Mingwang still replied calmly. "Yes, this is the Nei Snow Mountain. The spirit well is also here. We can all open it together when Brother Feng and sect leader Xing arrive." Yemo nodded. If this Xiang Mingwang played any tricks on him, he would kill him. There would still be Feng Wu who knew the whereabouts of the spirit well. Looking down from the helicopter, Yemo saw a small river, probably the Liansang River. The chopper flew past the peaks for another hour before landing at a flat platform at the waist of the mountain. The man called Yan Kai was already waiting there. Other than him, Yemo didn't sense anyone else. Yemo got off and found that this place had to be at least 3 or 4 kilometers above sea level. Everything was covered in snow. This would be a fitting place for immortals, Yemo sighed silently. If a hidden sects were to be founded here, it would definitely prove to be a good place for them to develop. "The spirit well is here." Yemo looked at Xiang Mingwang confusedly. Xiang Mingwang said coldly, "The spirit well isn't here, but this is the origin of our gourd cave. The valley beneath those clouds is our sect." Yemo's voice turned cold. "Xiang Mingwang, do you think I don't dare kill you or that I can't kill you?" Xiang Mingwang didn't resemble a rash person at all now and just said, "If you're scared, you can immediately get the pilot to fill up gas and take you away. It was our sect who discovered the passage to the spirit well. To be precise, the spirit well belongs to us." Yemo laughed. He wouldn't believe that the gourd cave would be so honorable as to share their own spirit well. Xiang Mingwang didn't seem to notice Yemo's scorn and just kept talking. "The spirit well can only be opened by great heaven masters or 4 masters who exceed the earth level peak stage. The duration it opens for is only 3 days. Our sect leader has been in solitary cultivation for more than 10 years, and so we can't open it ourselves. Thus, we invite other sects to open it together. Usually it's me, Brother Feng, Wang Lanshan and Bian Shihai, but this time, those 2 didn't come, so we invited you and Xingjingxia." "So that was it." Yemo nodded. This was actually quite credible, but Yemo felt that there had to be a hidden reason why Xiang Mingwang had sent Feng Wu away. Whatever it was, he simply needed to be careful. Thinking about how he had even successfully sieged Diansung, Yemo couldn't help but feel prideful. So what if it was the great and mighty Gourd Cave? Even if they were the number 1 sect, he wasn't afraid of them. Xiang Mingwang then turned to Yan Kai and said, "Yan Kai, take Yemo to the spirit well. I will meet with Brother Feng first." Then, he went on the helicopter and quickly left. Seeing Yemo frown, Yan Kai opened his hands and said with a smile, "Sect leader Yi, please come with me." Then, he just walked down the stairs to the gourd cave. Yemo smiled and followed without hesitation. Seeing this, Yan Kai smiled even more. As he walked, he started to talk about the snow mountain like a tour guide. Yemo listened, and even though he wasn't interested at all, Yan Kai kept on talking like a woman. An hour and a half later, the 2 had walked over countless barriers and harsh terrain before reaching a metal chain bridge. Yemo scanned it. The metal chain was at least 500 m long. His spirit sense couldn't see the end of it. His eyes were covered by white mist, so he could only see tens of meters ahead. It couldn't have been easy to set this chain up. "That's the number 1 sect for you." Yan Kai turned around and said to Yemo, "After this chain, we will be almost there." Then, he jumped on first, and his figure soon disappeared into the white mist. Yemo smiled in contempt and went onto the bridge too. Yan Kai was very fast, and in just a few moments, he had passed more than 700 meters of metal chain. He let out a breath of relief and looked back subconsciously, but then, he found out that Yemo was already standing on the platform with a sneer on his face. Yan Kai's heart skipped a beat. He didn't even know when Yemo got in front of him. He was an Earth-level middle stage. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but shiver. If Yemo had wanted to kill him just then, he would already be a body by now. Yan Kai smiled up to Yemo fawningly and informed that after 10 more minutes on this road, they would be reaching the gourd cave. Yemo had a plain expression on his face and said, "You just need to lead the way, don't worry about anything else." "Yes, sect leader Yi, please follow me," Yan Kai said carefully. As Yan Kai twisted and turned a few times, the view opened up to show a broad terrain. Yemo couldn't help but be amazed at the hidden sect's searching skills. Whether it was Dian-Sang or Serenity, they were all too well hidden. Without someone to lead the way, he wouldn't be able to find the place even after half a month. Yemo was even more bewildered to find that the landscape did indeed resemble a gourd. After arriving there, Yemo clearly felt the temperature rise up. Yemo suddenly thought, if one day I am sick of city life, it wouldn't be bad to live here. The only thing Yemo didn't like was that the terrain was a valley, and it didn't have that view you can only have from the peak of a mountain. Yemo walked down a stone tablet road which led to a huge palace and a square. At the door, Yemo's face sunk. More than 30 people walked out from all directions, and he saw that Xiang Mingwang had already returned. Did he believe they could kill him? An old face appeared from the middle door, and someone stood on the square looking at Yemo as they said, "You're the Yemo who killed so many of our sect members?" Yemo looked at the old man and his heart sunk. For the first time, he couldn't see what his power level was. Also, this old man gave him a death threat feeling. It was the first time he had such a feeling. Yemo looked at the old man and his heart sunk. For the first time, he couldn't see what his power level was. Also, this old man gave him a death threat feeling. It was the first time he had such a feeling. The old man was a strong enemy. He had a certain temperament of vastness to him that almost made Yemo think of the pressure foundation establishment cultivators had. If Yemo hadn't been sure that there were no cultivators in Gourd Cave, he would be running now. The old man was too scary. Yemo gathered all his chi, so he was ready to break through their barricade. He had been too careless. He didn't expect there could be someone that terrifying in Xiang Mingwang's base. If Yemo had known there was an old guy like that, he would have killed Xiang Mingwang at the top of the Broken Top Mountain. "I am the Yemo, the one who has killed your Gourd Cave's members," Yemo breathed. Since he had already come, he needed to face it. Even if he couldn't run away, he would drag a few with him. "You're very bold. You killed my sect members, but you still dared to come here empty-handed," this old man said plainly and then took a step forward casually. An invisible force charged at Yemo, and his clothes flailed. It was as though a big hammer smashed him in the chest. He subconsciously used his chi around his body to calm down. Still, he was shook hard. Was that old man at Great Heaven level? If he was, then what was Tan Jiao supposed to be? Didn't people say there were no Great Heaven Masters? Where did the old man come from? These big sects were not easy to deal with indeed. It seemed that the Jiuming Academy and the Wang family might also have people like these as well. If that was the case, then he really had been underestimating this world. The old man saw that Yemo had taken his inner chi blow, and was a little surprised. That move seemed simple, but Yemo could take it without taking a step back or getting injured. This was no simple challenge. For the first time, Yemo caused in him a strange feeling. The old man sighed. He seemed to be struggling to talk. "Yemo, you could accomplish great things, such a pity. Sect leader, he killed our elder and humiliated our sect. Our genius sect member Lu Ran was also killed by him. Even Ping Nigui lost an arm. If you hadn't come out in time, our 1,000-year-old heritage would have been gone to waste, and we wouldn't have been able to keep the spirit well." Xiang Mingwang said respectfully. Are you the sect leader? Yemo was shook. He didn't expect the sect leader to suddenly finish his solitary cultivation. That's right, I am the sect leader of Gourd Cave, Renping Chuan. Since you killed that many sect members of mine, then no matter how genius you are, you need to stay here today, Renping Chuan said plainly. Yemo sneered. He was going to give his all, he couldn't dodge it either way. He looked at the extremely old man and sneered again. Sect leader Ren, I respect your power, but not your character. Your sect provoked me, am I not allowed to retaliate? Renping Chuan said slowly. My Gourd Cave sect is the biggest sect in the outer hidden sections. We don't need you to teach us what to do. Moreover, Xiang Mingwang just asked you about your heritage. Even if he killed a person of yours, you can't retaliate against us. Yemo laughed. Old fart, how shamelessness. I was wondering why the Gourd Cave people were all so shameless. It seems that's all part of its heritage. Old thing, just because you reached great heaven, don't think that you can do anything to me. Renping Chuan didn't seem to hear Yemo's curses, he just looked up into the clouds with a frown. Then he said plainly, I've been in solitary training for 80 years, yet I didn't reach great heaven. Pity I don't have much time. Side dash, old thing, you're not at great heaven level? Yemo was shocked. He was sure that Renping Chuan was at great heaven level, but he turned out not to be great heaven. Renping Chuan said plainly, the fact that you're able to kill halfway great heaven masters at this young age means that your heritage is very significant. In that case, give it to me. Perhaps I might be able to take that step forward with it. Then, Renping Chuan walked forward and palmed Yemo. Yemo almost thought that Renping Chuan was a cultivator. There was a 5 to 6 meter difference between them, but it only took him one step to get in front of him. Before the palm even landed, the searing wind and a sharp killing intent were already looming over him. Yemo really wanted to avoid it, but he realized his entire body was cloaked in the palm wind. He had no other way but to it head on. The flying sword appeared in Yemo's hand instantly, and using 90% of his chi, he pierced Renping Chuan's palm. Rumble the palm and fist didn't clash together, but a many-meter deep ditch was created. Yemo was smashed by the palm wind and thrown into a Gourd Cave member. This person didn't even get to make a sound, he was instantly killed by the crash. Good sword, I didn't even see where you took out your sword from. You're capable. Renping Chuan didn't seem to notice at all that a sect member of his had died because of Yemo. He didn't even seem to notice that the sword had sliced his hand. Yemo resisted the ruptures in this dantian and gulped down the blood he was about to spit. He was shocked at the old man's inner chi intensity. Young man, you're this young, you have such dense inner chi and such sharp weapon, your heritage is significant indeed. Give me your heritage and end yourself. I can assure that our sect members won't get revenge on your family nor go to that flowing snake of yours. Renping Chuan was really interested in Yemo's heritage now. Yemo used 100% of his chi and the flying sword in his hand turned into a huge door-sized sword, as he tried to hack the old man with countless killing intent. At the same time, he sneered. Old fart, your promise is bullsh**t in my eyes. Renping Chuan had reached the bottom line. Yemo felt that although Renping Chuan's inner chi was much greater than his, he could have a chance since Renping Chuan was too old. Yemo knew that for masters like Renping Chuan, his fireballs and wind blades were no threat at all. When he saw the huge sword, Renping Chuan's expression became very excited. He murmured, It's a real magic artifact. The legends are true. Renping Chuan grabbed a black stick from his waist. Rumble Yemo's flying sword clashed with Renping Chuan's stick, creating a huge chi wave. The weaker sect members were knocked out while the others retreated in fear. Yemo was smashed into a wall again, his body was covered in blood. Yemo felt his bones were breaking, even his dantian was about to break. He didn't think too much, he immediately took 2 lotus life pills. After taking them, his wounds recovered rapidly. Luckily, he had lotus life pills with him, otherwise he would be over. He had too little offensive means. After all, the resources were limited there and a lot of means required chi. Emo had to use the sword control now. It was his life-saving trump card, but Renping Chuan was too strong and he had to use it then. Renping Chuan also didn't take the attack lightly. Blood seeped out of his mouth. "Young man, you've completely annoyed me now," Renping Chuan said. He hadn't seen Emo take the pill, and even if he had, he wouldn't care. There was no pill that could help him recover after such heavy injury that quickly. "You go cut off his legs and bring him over. He shouldn't be able to move anymore after that." Renping Chuan pointed at a black-level tertiary stage man and said, "Yes, martial ancestor." The person rejoiced and ran to him. Emo subconsciously looked for the road he had come from and found that it was sealed. Xiang Emingwang thought Emo was hoping for Feng Wu to appear and sneered. "Feng Wu and Xingjingxia won't be coming, don't count on that. Even if they came, they wouldn't help you." Emo ignored Xiang Mingwang. His flying sword moved again and split the black-level stage man in half. "How dare you!" Renping Chuan yelled. His stick brought a whirlwind of killing intent, as it smashed Emo's leg. Renping Chuan couldn't control himself after seeing Emo still had the ability to kill after that. Renping Chuan's cane brought a bursting force with it that shook the entire square. Even the sect members on the side were suffocating from that attack, much less Emo, who was at the forefront of it. Renping Chuan's cane brought a bursting force with it that shook the entire square. Even the sect members on the side were suffocating from that attack, much less Emo, who was at the forefront of it. Seeing the tornado-like wind compressing in, Emo's heart sunk. He knew that Renping Chuan wanted to break his legs completely. If that hit his legs, then even if he immediately became Foundation establishment level, he wouldn't be able to recover them. At this moment, Emo had to use his trump card. He knew that the flying sword wouldn't be able to hurt Renping Chuan at all, but he still used it. At the same time, he gathered all the chi in his body and released it at the tornado force. The reason why he used his flying sword to attack Renping Chuan was to stop him from using the inner chi into the tornado. If he let Renping Chuan continue inserting his inner chi like that, he wouldn't be able to block that move no matter what. And this was Renping Chuan not wanting to kill him. If he did, Emo would be squashed into a pancake. Rumble! Emo's chi and Renping Chuan's chi clashed, creating a huge explosion and shattering the rocks nearby. This scene would really mean nothing much for immortal cultivators, but for mortal ancient martial artists, it was quite shocking. "Sword control," Renping Chuan said in shock. He saw Emo's sword pierce at him from a weird angle. He wasn't some Wang Lanchan. He could tell that this flying sword was controlled by inner chi. There was such a thing in the world. Renping Chuan's heart was full of astonishment. He immediately stopped putting chi into the tornado and used it to attack Emo's flying sword instead. Even if Emo were at peak condition, his flying sword still wouldn't be able to hurt Renping Chuan, much less when he was at the end of his strength. Renping Chuan's inner chi clashed against Emo's flying sword, and he felt a certain very mystical power and control. Eventually, Renping Chuan actually closed his eyes as he seemed to have been enlightened. His two hands clashed with Emo's flying sword subconsciously. It was obvious he was learning something from Emo's flying sword. If it weren't for that, perhaps Emo's flying sword would have already simply been grabbed by him. Emo was pushed back by the force even further away and was smashed into a rock wall. Emo felt like his hands were about to break from the force. Despite blocking most of the force, his legs were still forced into a squat. The sound of bones breaking sounded once more. Emo was shocked. He quickly tipped all the Lotus Life pills he had into his mouth. As soon as he did, his hand broke and the bottle fell on the floor. A few more cracks were audible as Emo's leg broke too, and he fell on the ground. As soon as the Lotus Life pill repaired Emo's injuries, Emo's bone was crushed again. Emo felt lucky that he had used his flying sword rather early on, and that tornado was at the end of its force. If he hadn't done that and Renping Chuan had kept inserting chi, his hands and feet would have been completely pulverized. Emo looked at his flying sword, and his expression turned very ugly. His flying sword wasn't causing any threat to Rinping at all. Instead, he was sitting on the ground with his eyes closed as though trying to understand something. This old fart. Yemo took back his flying sword tight away. But Rinping hands kept moving. Yemo was shocked. If Rinping reached great heaven from that, he wouldn't be able to live no matter what. Yemo wasn't going to let him stay in that enlightened state. He used his flying sword, and it rapidly pierced Rinping shoulder, but Rinping still sat there, moving his hands. Suddenly, a strong force erupted from Rinping. Yemo was stunned. Rinping was beginning to reach great heaven. The force of reaching great heaven was this big. It would seem that Tan Jiao really hadn't been great heaven. Just as Yemo wanted to keep using his flying sword to attack, Xiang Mingwang yelled. Sect leader is about to ascend to a greater boundary. Yemo is at his end now, charge up and kill him. Even if Yemo weren't injured, he would have quite some trouble facing this many masters. Yemo could tell that these people were stronger than Wang Lenshen's entourage back then. Yemo killed 6 earth and black level attackers with his flying sword, but his inner chi and spirit sense depleted rapidly like that. Xiang Mingwang's long sword pierced Yemo's chest. Yemo used his chi to accelerate the effect of the Lotus Life pills, but he was just too heavily injured. Even multiple pills couldn't help him now. And he was only getting more and more wounds. Yemo knew that the moment his chi was completely depleted would be the moment he died. The flying sword spent 80% of the time fighting Xiang Mingwang and 20% of the time fighting others. The potency of the pill was getting weaker and weaker. By the time Yemo could move one hand, the potency disappeared completely. Despair flashed across Yemo's eyes. Was he going to die here? At this moment, Rinping suddenly let out a long howl and a huge force erupted from his body. Yemo's heart sunk even further. Even if Rinping hadn't reached great heaven, he wouldn't be able to run away. Not to mention running away, he couldn't even stand up. Yemo considered some things and suddenly took out a wooden box from his ring before throwing it at Xiang Mingwang. This is my heritage, take it! Xiang Mingwang caught it out of reflex, and as he did, Yemo immediately said, Xiang Mingwang, that's a bomb in your hand. Tell your people to stop, or I will detonate it immediately. Yemo was holding a controller in his hand. It was the one he got from the Fu brothers. He got the bomb from them too. He didn't know how strong it would be, but it wouldn't be weak. Even if he died, he could drag this entire sect with him, and he wouldn't need to worry about these people going to Flowing Snake. Xiang Mingwang subconsciously looked at the box and then at Yemo's controller. A few seconds later he said, You're an ancient martial artist, yet you use low means like this? Yemo sat on the ground and sneered. If you dare put it down, I'll detonate it immediately. If you don't believe me, why don't you try me? And since when are ancient martial artists not allowed to use advanced technology? Xiang Mingwang said calmly. Yemo, if you think a bomb can do anything to me, you're wrong. Even if you have a machine gun, you can't do anything to me. Hand over your actual heritage and controller, and end yourself. I promise I won't look for trouble with your family. Yemo really wanted to jeer at him, but the burning feeling from his dantian made him spit blood. He knew that even if Xiang Mingwang didn't do anything, he wouldn't last much longer. Pity his Lotus Life pills were all used up too. Yemo knew that Xiang Mingwang was right. If this was just an average bomb, it would merely injure him, or at most kill only him. At this moment, Yemo could only hope this was no ordinary bomb. Xiang Mingwang was about to put the bomb to the side when Yemo gave a final warning. Xiang Mingwang, if you put it down, I will detonate it immediately. Xiang Mingwang was furious, but he didn't dare to not listen to Yemo. If this bomb was really not an ordinary one and he threw it out, the entire sect would be destroyed due to him. At the same time, Yemo was trying to gather some of his chi. He only needed a little bit, yet he couldn't do it. Xiang Mingwang, tell your people to retreat to the door or I will do it. Yemo threatened coolly. Once they retreated to a certain place, he would be able to fly away on the sword. Xiang Mingwang didn't want to do it, but he had no other option. He didn't dare risk himself and the sect. Meanwhile, Renping-chan's force was getting more and more potent. Yemo was worried. He knew that Renping-chuan was about to break through. In his desperation, he bit his tongue and spat out blood, forcefully gathering some qi in the end. Then he summoned his sword under his butt and flew into the sky. Before they realized what was happening, Yemo pressed the detonator. He knew that if Renping-chuan woke up, he wouldn't be able to run away. "Haha! I have finally reached great heaven!" Before Renping-chuan could properly enjoy his success, a huge explosion sounded in the valley. Rumble, the ensuing shocking explosion and eye-piercing bright light made Yemo dizzy. Yemo could no longer actively control his sword and fell unconscious on top of it, and the sword plunged into the Liantsung River. On the outskirts of the Mei Snow Mountains, a woman was climbing them arduously. The woman wore a blue puffer jacket and carried a huge climbing backpack. On the outskirts of the Mei Snow Mountains, a woman was climbing them arduously. The woman wore a blue puffer jacket and carried a huge climbing backpack. It wasn't the best season for climbing, she was the only one doing it at a time like this. Her hair was messy due to the wind, but her cold expression also showed perseverance, as though she would never give up climbing, no matter what. But she also knew that she was still far from the peak. If Yemo saw her, he would recognize her as the woman he had saved twice, whose name was Yangzhu. Although she hated Yemo, she had to admit that Yemo had saved her last night. No matter what, she felt that Yemo had some bad intentions towards her. Regardless of whether her instincts were right or not, she left the city that night, but she didn't go back to Beijing. She knew that the one who could protect her, her master Tan Jiao, had entered solitary training once again. Her martial uncle Wan Qifeng hadn't been back for a while due to some incident last time. Even if her master hadn't gone into solitary training, she couldn't rely on him. Ever since her master had come back last time, his attitude towards her had become apathetic. She knew that it was due to Yemo, and she needed to walk her future path by herself. Without her master's support, she didn't dare to go back to Beijing with the Black Rising pill. Even if the people from the hidden sects didn't do anything to her, she couldn't resist the authorities' children in Beijing. Her master didn't like her, and the Song family was gone. She was a lone wolf now. She wouldn't have imagined that she would happen to see Yemo again when she was attacked in Beijing. Hence, she left the ghost city at night, and went to the Mei Snow Mountain. She had come because she was aware that her power was weak. It was no simple feat to kill Yemo and get revenge. When she went to the Broken Top Mountain's tomb, she got 3 things. She found a jade slip and a yin-yang fish. Other than that, she also got a map from the 2 tomb raiders. It was obvious the map led to a tomb which was at the Mei Snow Mountain. If it had been some other time, she wouldn't have cared about it, but what she got from the Broken Top Mountain changed her mind. That night she had overheard the 2 tomb raiders saying that the tomb belonged to a descendant of Yuan Tiangang. Yuan Tiangang was a mage of the Tang dynasty. It said that he knew Dao art. If he did, she might be able to get it from the tomb. She couldn't figure anything to do with the fish, but she somehow got an inner qi cultivation method from the jade slip. When Song Yangzhu focused on it, the jade slip turned back to normal. She had thought it was just an illusion, but when she practiced according to the cultivation method, she found that in one night her inner qi had become stronger. This discovery made her very happy. Still, she was disappointed to find out that she couldn't get anything from it when she tried investigating. This made Song Yangzhu more fervent about going to the ancient tomb in the Mei Snow Mountains. The only thing she was confused about was that she had fallen unconscious in the tomb that day. Who had saved her and brought her back? It was stuck in her mind. The Tsung-Lien River was very beautiful. When Song Yangzhu got there, she had already forgotten her purpose. She rested at one of the river's branches. The water there seemed a little red. It had the name of the Peacock River. Song Yangzhu looked into the river and got lost in her thoughts. If she didn't have to take revenge for her family, she could imagine herself going there with the person she loved. Such a pretty place, Song Yangzhu murmured and then put down the bag. She decided to stay there for the night and leave the next morning. Song Yangzhu made a simple tent by the river, then she walked over to the river to wash her face. She had been on high alert for a few days and now she could finally relax a little. But when she approached the river, she found a shocking scene. Moments ago there had been nothing there, but now there was a body. Was this person dead or alive? Song Yangzhu dragged the man to the river bank, and she realized he was covered in sword wounds. Song Yangzhu could see that the person was probably an ancient martial arts cultivator. He had probably died from such serious injuries already. Thinking about this, Song Yangzhu grabbed a branch and flipped the man over. When Yemo fell unconscious on the flying sword, he knew it wouldn't end well. Since he didn't have any chi, he didn't manage to stop himself and fell straight into the river. The cold water woke him up briefly. Yemo couldn't do anything to heal himself, he couldn't even move. He could only change his breathing into inner breathing, but that would only make him last a few more days. When he was flipped over, he woke up for a brief moment. But he knew that it would only last for a short while. He was soon going to fall unconscious again. "It's you?" Song Yangzhu looked at Yemo dazedly. She wouldn't have expected that the person she had tried to kill with all her might would fall into her hands in that state. Was that the subtle cause and effect that exists in the world? The heavens had given him to her so she could get revenge. In that moment, Song Yangzhu pulled out a dagger without hesitation. Yemo opened his eyes and found that he actually knew the woman who saved him. It was the cold woman he had saved twice before. Yemo opened his eyes and found that he actually knew the woman who saved him. It was the cold woman he had saved twice before. Yemo didn't realize that this woman wanted to kill him. After all, she had seemed to merely dislike him, not to the extent where she wanted his life. Perhaps she disliked him due to what happened at the Special Forces barracks? He thought Song Yangzhu had saved him, and upon seeing her, he felt relieved. Good people got good returns indeed. He saved her twice and now, she saved him. Thinking about this, Yemo forced a smile through the pain and said, "It seems I'm quite lucky today." Then, Yemo closed his eyes and started to heal himself with chi. Without the Lotus Life pill, he could only rely on himself to heal his injuries by performing inner chi cycles. Hearing these words, Song Yangzhu was struck. It had been him, it had actually been him. She remembered how that night at the tomb, she was so scared she fainted, but she still had some bit of consciousness left. She vaguely remembered being carried and hearing the words, "I'm in a good mood today. It's your luck, I'll bring you out." When she woke up again, she found herself in her hotel room. She knew that hadn't been a dream but just didn't know who it was that saved her. The way that man had said lucky was the exact same way as Yemo just now. Song Yangzhu was dazed. She didn't think the person she wanted to kill would turn out to be her two-time savior. Enemy or benefactor? Enemy or benefactor? Song Yangzhu's hand was shaking. She wasn't sure if she should kill Yemo or not now. What should she do? Yemo didn't know what Song Yangzhu was thinking and was fervently healing himself. He didn't expect himself to be wounded so badly this time. Yemo knew that his power was at the peak of the outer hidden sects, yet he encountered this hardship. Without some fortune, he wouldn't be able to power up any further. That Ren Pingchuan was really strong, but that bomb was pretty powerful too. Even Ren Pingchuan might not have been able to survive that explosion. It would be best if he died from the blast. Yemo was sure that all the other Gourd Cave members were dead. Seeing the unconscious Yemo, Song Yangzhu struggled before praying by the river. "Grandpa, Yemo is an enemy of the Song family, but he saved me. I want to kill him, but I really can't kill an unconscious person, someone who has saved me before at that. Grandpa, what should I do?" Song Yangzhu was crying helplessly by the river bank. Yemo wasn't completely unconscious, and he heard Song Yangzhu's words clearly. So she was from the Song family. Yemo's heart went cold, and his chi nearly got messed up. He quickly calmed down, but he truly didn't know whether this was fortune or calamity. The only thing he could do for now was to pray for Song Yangzhu not to kill him. He didn't have a single strand of chi or spirit sense in his current state, but even if he had some, he wouldn't be able to kill Song Yangzhu, because he couldn't move at all. Furthermore, he didn't have his flying sword anymore. Without his flying sword, even if he recovered, his fighting power would be weakened. Song Yangzhu cried as she picked up the dagger and walked in front of Yemo. Yemo thought, "Am I not going to escape death after all? Yemo, I can distinguish clearly between enmity and kindness. You saved me once, so I won't kill you today. Before, you brought me out of the tomb, and today, I pulled you out of the river. Whether or not you can survive is up to you. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other, but the Song family was still destroyed by your hands. The next time I see you, I will kill you to get revenge from my grandpa." Song Yangzhu's tears kept flowing as she said this. Afterwards, she packed her things and left without turning back. She didn't know whether Yemo had been conscious or not. Yemo could hear Song Yangzhu's footsteps get further away and let out a breath. Although he was still in the middle of snowy mountains, and if he wasn't able to recover, he would still die, that was definitely better than being killed right there and then. In the depth of her heart, Song Yangzhu hoped Yemo would die from his injuries or get eaten by some wild animals, but she stopped herself from thinking about it. Sanglian River got very cold at night. Yemo was very grateful that Song Yangzhu didn't kill him. Who would have thought that someone from the Song family would rescue him? He had made up his mind that next time Song Yangzhu tried to kill him, he would let her go. He had only killed a couple of the Song family members anyway. Since he had let most of them go, of course he could do the same for Song Yangzhu who had saved him. The main thing with Yemo was to never touch his bottom line. If someone did, then Song Yangzhu or not, he would kill them all the same. Weird sounds were coming from the Peacock River, but Yemo didn't mind it, and just laid still at the river bank. He was much happier than a few hours ago already. He could properly run meridian cycles with his chi now, which meant that his speed of healing would rapidly increase. It was lucky that he'd eaten that entire bottle of Lotus Life pills. If he hadn't, he would be dead by now. A wild bird flew by Yemo and startled him as he was still healing. Yemo opened his eyes and found that it was day already. Ice had formed on his clothes. He struggled around and found that his leg bones had started to heal, and his hands could move now. His spirit sense had also recovered quite a bit by then. Yemo sighed and took out a few normal pills, quickly eating them. He was slowly beginning to recover. When he could mobilize most of his chi again, he would go back to find his flying sword. Once he did, he would go find some more herbs and concoct more Lotus Life pills. With that, he would heal even faster. After digesting the ordinary pills, Yemo knew that it would be useless to eat any more of them. He took out a sword to support himself in getting up. Regardless of whether he had managed to kill everyone at the gourd cave, it wasn't a good idea to keep staying by the river. Yemo knew he was even weaker than an ordinary person at the moment, so he wasn't in a rush to find his flying sword. A few hours later, Yemo appeared by a rock not far from the river and found a hole to slide into. Afterwards, he blocked the hole and started to recover once more. Meanwhile, tens of kilometers away, Song Yangzhu was looking for the entrance of the tomb with her map. It took another 2 days, but finally Song Yangzhu stood at the bottom of the valley, and she was filled with joy. She knew she had found the place that led the tomb. It was only 10 meters away from the bottom of the valley. It took another 2 days, but finally Song Yangzhu stood at the bottom of the valley, and she was filled with joy. She knew she had found the place that led the tomb. It was only 10 meters away from the bottom of the valley. Song Yangzhu wanted to find a place to stay for the time being. She was planning to cultivate while digging out the ancient tomb. But in this moment, a voice sounded. Were there people talking in the depth of the snow mountain? Song Yangzhu looked behind in shock and saw 2 men carrying big bags. They had shotguns in their hands and they were walking towards her as they spoke. 2 hunters? What were they doing there? Song Yangzhu didn't head towards the tomb, she couldn't expose it. When Song Yangzhu spotted the 2 men, they also saw her. The 2 hunters said something to each other, and headed towards her with their guns. When they got close, Song Yangzhu saw that one of them was a white-skinned foreigner. He had a bulky build. The other man was Chinese. He was very short but sturdy. His face had many scars on it, which made him look very hideous. They were obviously surprised to see Song Yangzhu there. "Who are you? Why are you in the depth of the Mei snow mountains?" the short man asked. He was vigilant, as though one wrong word and he would fire. "Who are you guys?" Song Yangzhu rested easy. These men were probably really hunters. She could smell the blood in their bags. But Song Yangzhu couldn't understand why they were all the way there. As though they felt Song Yangzhu posed no threat, the short man put the gun down and said, "I'm Jiang Chuanwu. This is my friend Erickson. We came here for hunting." "Hunting?" Song Yangzhu looked at the two men with confusion and suddenly said, "Did you come to hunt the snow fox?" She was more and more certain they had come here to hunt the snow fox. Snow fox fur was very precious, and it was said that only the Mei snow mountains had these animals. These animals were not only nationally protected, but also internationally. Jiang Chuanwu's expression didn't look good, but he still said, "Are they that easy to find? We just came here to hunt some regular animals." Song Yangzhu didn't continue asking, it didn't concern her. It was good as long as they didn't come for the tomb. "What are you here for?" Jiang Chuanwu looked at Song Yangzhu confused. She was that pretty and young, yet she was alone in the depths of the snow mountain. It seemed eerie. "I'm just hiking, but I got lost." She could no longer be bothered to talk to the two hunters, so she turned around and walked away. With them there, she couldn't dig the tomb. She had to wait until they left before she could. Jiang Chuanwu turned to the foreigner and said, "Erickson, do you believe her?" The tall white guy looked at Jiang Sihuanwu and smiled. "Mr. Chuanwu, the woman is really pretty." Hearing this, Jiang Sihuanwu thought about it and wanted to say something, but Erickson continued, "Mr. Chuanwu, we've been in this place for half a month, but we still haven't seen any snow foxes. I don't think it's worth it if we continue like this." Jiang Chuanwu immediately knew what he meant. He was hired by Erickson. If they found the fox, he would get a large sum of money. If not, he would just be a tour guide. He knew that Erickson wanted the woman, but he had his concerns. A young beautiful woman that dared to venture the depths of this mountain, he couldn't believe that she didn't have the means to protect herself. "Mr. Erickson, she's no regular woman if she can wander in the depths of this mountain. There are many capable people in China. If she has an important background, then we dash," Jiang Chuanwu said worriedly. Erickson smiled. "We'd be sent to jail for poaching snow foxes. Now that she knows our purpose, if she reports us, then we would dash." He didn't finish the sentence. Jiang Chuanwu knew what Erickson meant. He also longed for women, but he had heard about ancient martial arts, and he knew there were a lot of masters. She might be one, since she dared to venture there herself. Erickson waved the pouch and said, "I know what you're worrying about, but this scent can make people weak, even lose their mind." Jiang Chuanwu was shook and cursed. That guy had such thing. If he used it on him, he would be dead meat. It seemed that he needed to be wary of him. Although he had these thoughts, Jiang Chuanwu didn't show it and smiled. "That thing is not bad, but if we smelled it too, wouldn't we be also disabled? Don't worry, I have the cure for it here." Erickson took out a green capsule and gave it to Jiang Chuanwu. Seeing this, Erickson smiled and said, "Mr. Chuanwu, I can let you go on that woman first." Hearing this, Jiang Chuanwu thought carefully. Was Erickson really that nice? It wasn't like his cunning nature. Thinking about this, Jiang Chuanwu became even warier. Seeing this, Erickson quickly said, "Mr. Chuanwu, don't misunderstand me, I also have some conditions. I brought the scent and the cure. If you go on her first, you must give me the short sword you found." Hearing this, Jiang Chuanwu took out a short sword from his bag and said strangely, "You want this short sword?" He had found it by the river yesterday. He didn't understand why Erickson wanted that normal-looking sword. Yes, yes," Erickson said excitedly, and even reached his hand to grab it. Jiang Chuanwu put the sword away and said casually, Mr. Erickson, we don't even have her yet. No need to rush. Oh, right, yeah? Erickson rubbed his hands. Song Yangzhu found a place to shelter from the wind and cleaned it before setting up her tent. Just when she finished setting up the tent, the two men were approaching it. Song Yangzhu immediately became vigilant. She didn't want to talk to them. Why were they here? What Song Yangzhu didn't expect was that they set their tents near hers. Song Yangzhu frowned. She decided to pack up her tent and leave. She wasn't a very feisty person, but if they followed her again, they couldn't blame her for her actions. Before she came out, the man called Jiang Chuanwu came over and stood at the door saying, Young girl, help us! There are a lot of beasts around the snow mountain. It'll be safer if we stay together. We've made roasted rabbit meat, let's eat together. Song Yangzhu said with a cold face. No need, I don't like living with strangers. Since you guys like it here, I'll move away. Hi, I'm Erickson. Nice to meet you. Erickson approached her politely and reached out his hand. Song Yangzhu's face was cold, as though she hadn't seen his hand. Erickson took back his hand awkwardly and passed over a cigarette to Jiang Chuanwu, before lighting up his own. Piss off! The two had dared smoke in front of her tent and make all the smoke go inside. Song Yangzhu couldn't endure any longer and decided to give those two a lesson. Piss off! The two had dared smoke in front of her tent and make all the smoke go inside. Song Yangzhu couldn't endure any longer and decided to give those two a lesson. Jiang Chuanwu suddenly spat the smoke onto Song Yangzhu's face and creepily muttered, Young girl, in the depths of this barren mountain, wouldn't it be good if we accompanied each other? It'll be warm. Dash. Killing intent flashed across Song Yangzhu's eyes. Just because she had never killed before didn't mean she wasn't able to. Song Yangzhu kicked out, sending Jiang Chuanwu flying tens of meters away. He couldn't crawl up from the ground for a long time. Then, Song Yangzhu kicked Erickson the same way, and he flew far away, harshly landing next to Jiang Chuanwu. As soon as she did that, she felt something wasn't right. She felt weak and extremely lustful. Song Yangzhu immediately realized that there must have been something fishy about that smoke, but she didn't even have the strength to step on the cigarette to put it out. Didn't you promise the smoke dash? Jiang Chuanwu didn't finish complaining, because he saw Yangzhu stumbling. Hee, this is made from authentic African red snake grass. No matter how conservative she is, she won't be able to control herself. Erickson smiled and rubbed his waist, crawling up slowly. This woman is really frightening though. Her kick was too powerful. Jiang Chuanwu also felt fear. If it hadn't been for the smoke, the two of them combined would have been no match for this woman. Yemo stood up. After a day of recovery, his outer wounds had disappeared, and his bones had healed. Even his spirit sense had recovered by half. His chi, however, had only recovered less than 1%. Yemo knew that that was due to his injured dantian. If he wanted to recover all of his chi, he had to heal his dantian first. But he knew that without the Lotus Life Pill, it wouldn't be easy to recover his dantian. If it wasn't for his flying sword, he would want to leave this place already. He was sure that no one else other than Xiang Mingwang and Ren Pingchuan could have survived the blast. Xiang Mingwang was even most likely dead, as he had been the one holding on to the bomb. The only one Yemo was worried about was Ren Pingchuan. If Ren Pingchuan wasn't dead, then Yemo would be if he met him again. But no matter how badly he wanted to leave, he needed his flying sword. Without it, he couldn't escape these mountains. His flying sword was also very precious. It would be far too difficult to find enough materials to make another one. Yemo looked for many hours by the river but didn't find anything. He was lacking in chi and felt tired quickly. A white animal passed by Yemo's eyes rapidly, so fast that Yemo almost didn't notice it. Such a pretty thing. Yemo's spirit sense immediately noticed that it was a fox. He knew that these things were very rare on Earth, especially such a beautiful white one. Yemo immediately took a liking to it. He thought that since Qingxue had silver, if he gave this fox to Luowing, she would be very happy. Thinking like that, Yemo followed after the cute creature. As though sensing that Yemo was chasing it, it ran faster. If Yemo had his flying sword or his chi, it really wouldn't take long for him to catch it. But now, he was only a little stronger than a normal person. He ran for a couple of hours and didn't even realize he had entered the inner parts of the snow mountain. When Yemo was puffing heavily and close to losing his breath, he finally almost caught up to the fox. Just as Yemo was about to catch the fox, he stopped himself. He had sensed his flying sword this deep into the mountains. His flying sword clearly fell by the river. Why would it be here? No matter what, since his flying sword was here, Yemo had to go. Yemo released his spirit sense to the maximum and ran towards it. The fox saw that Yemo stopped chasing it, so it halted too and stared at Yemo's back. Song Yangzhu felt as if her body were jelly, and it didn't take her long to realize that she was in trouble. She regretted merely kicking the two away instead of killing them. Seeing Jiang Chuanwu and Erickson slowly creep over, Song Yangzhu began to worry. Her heart sunk to the bottom. She knew that if the two came to her tent, it would be over for her. Song Yangzhu wanted to force out the mist from her body, but she couldn't. Jiang Chuanwu took out the sword and dumped it over to Erickson. "This is yours, I'll be going on her first." Erickson smiled and didn't pay Jiang Chuanwu any heed. He focused on the short sword and sliced it at some rock. The rock was sliced in half like tofu. Erickson was shocked. To him, women were something he could get anywhere, but he had never encountered such a powerful sword before. Was this one of the 10 great swords of China or something? Even if he didn't get the snow fox fur, he'd earn big this time. But that Jiang Chuanwu, the idiot, actually gave it to him. Seeing Jiang Chuanwu walk over, Song Yangzhu was shaking. "If you had just cooperated, things would have been great. I won't be the only one feeling pleasure here. You're not really losing out, why are you so serious?" Jiang Chuanwu put out his hand as he spoke casually. "Animal, if you dare come over, I will kill you!" Song Yangzhu yelled. She truly wanted to kill him, but she was completely powerless. Hearing this, Jiang Chuanwu laughed. "You dare threaten me? How about I kill you after F*King you, B*TCH?" Although Jiang Chuanwu was only threatening her now, he did have thoughts of killing her. She had been able to kick the both of them that far with one kick. He didn't dare to let her live. As Song Yangzhu was falling more and more into despair, she suddenly felt some strength return to her. She rejoiced and wanted to take out her sword, but before she could, she felt a sudden intense desire in her heart. That lust made her feel very shameless. In the meantime, Jiang Chuanwu had taken off his top and was depravedly walking up to her. Song Yangzhu's eyes were red, and her skin was shivering. She was finally able to gather up some strength to resist it for some reason. "Hee, soon you'll understand how good it is." Jiang Chuanwu grabbed her shoulder and helped her take off her clothes. Song Yangzhu bit the tip of her tongue to cling on to the little inkling of reason she had left, and kicked Jiang Chuanwu in the stomach, and he flew out of the tent again. Immediately after, though, she sunk into deep desire and started ripping off her clothes. Erickson dash. Just when Jiang Chuanwu wanted to reproach Erickson for the weakness of his mist poison, he saw Song Yangzhu take off her clothes in a frenzy and took back his words. From Song Yangzhu's resistance, Jiang Chuanwu knew that the mist was indeed very potent, but that Song Yangzhu's will was simply very strong as well. It seemed that after this was over, he needed to get some from Erickson. With such a fearsome poison, what woman couldn't he get? Hearing the call, Erickson said slowly, "Hurry up and do your business, that mist is very strong. If you leave her untouched for too long, she'll go crazy." Jiang Chuanwu could no longer hold himself back and took off the rest of his clothes as he charged over to the tent. Yemo happened to walk into the valley right on time to witness Jiang Chuanwu rushing into the cave. What shocked him especially was that Song Yangzhu seemed to be ripping off her clothes. Yemo couldn't help but sigh. This world was really small. Yemo immediately knew that Song Yangzhu had to have been drugged. He couldn't let this go, especially since Song Yangzhu had saved him before. Yemo let out a sneer. Great, abusing women in the depths of a mountain, huh? Jiang Chuanwu heard it and quickly stopped. He saw Yemo walk over, and he reacted quickly, calling out, Erickson, kill this guy, quick! Yemo saw the flying sword in Erickson's hand as he was putting it down to take out his gun. Yemo laughed at the irony and manipulated his flying sword to slit Erickson's throat in an arc. Blood splashed. A few seconds later, Erickson's headless body dropped on the ground. Blood splashed. A few seconds later, Erickson's headless body dropped on the ground. Jiang Chuanwu stared at the head rolling far away. He didn't know how that young man had killed Erickson. They were clearly so far apart. He even forgot to beg for mercy. Yemo was tired, however. He had very little qi and had chased the fox for quite a long while. Big brother, you can have that woman for dash. Jiang Chuanwu finally reacted, but before he said anything else, Yemo's flying sword pierced his neck. That day at the break of dawn, two heads rolled to each other. Yemo wanted to use a fireball to burn them both, but he really felt his qi wasn't enough. When he saw that Song Yangzhu was almost in a frenzy, Yemo didn't dare waste time and quickly made his way over. He went into the tent wanting to use acupuncture to force the poison out, but Song Yangzhu had already charged at him and put her arms around him. She started to pull Yemo's clothes. Yemo sighed, but he didn't push her away. He used a golden needle to pierce into a chakra point. As soon as he did, Yemo's expression changed. He just realized he was out of qi. How was he going to force the poison out? Song Yangzhu was obviously poisoned by some extremely strong aphrodisiac. She wasn't going to last much longer. Yemo was angry. Those two men were too vicious. However, he was out of qi and he couldn't cure her. Even if he did that with Song Yangzhu, it might not go away completely. But if he didn't do it, Song Yangzhu would immediately be in danger. But in the case that only a little bit of poison were left, as long as she didn't lose her mind, she could force it out herself with her yellow level peak power. Just when Yemo was deciding on what to do, his top got torn. Yemo only had a thin shirt on him. Now that it was torn off, Song Yangzhu's burning body touched his. Yemo, who had never had sex before, immediately felt hot. He had many mind-calming chants, but they required qi to use. How could Yemo, who was depleted of qi, resist against this attack? Although Yemo had the power to push her away, she was in danger indeed, and his heart was already aroused by Song Yangzhu. He didn't want to push her away. He even pulled out the golden needle. Yemo felt guilty about Ning Qingxue and Luoying, but he could only lie and convince himself that Song Yangzhu had saved him before. He knew it was an excuse, but he still used it to comfort himself. Rumble when Song Yangzhu's hand grabbed his private area, Yemo couldn't think about anything else. He was drowned by Song Yangzhu's fire. He could no longer care about anything else, as he grabbed the feeble Song Yangzhu. They were both noobs, but they didn't need anyone to teach them, they just had to follow their instinct. Despite not touching anything with his hands, Yemo felt the lustful fire. When he was enveloped by her warmth, he subconsciously made an animal-like growl. He lost himself for a brief moment. Song Yangzhu clumsily rode on him, and the pain briefly woke her up. It was her first time, but the pain wasn't just physical, it was also mental. She woke up, saw Yemo, and suddenly started crying. She wanted to stop herself, but she was soon engulfed by that desire again. She had forgotten everything. Yemo grabbed Song Yangzhu. Even if he lost his first time to that woman, he didn't want to be the passive one. He started taking the active role, and he placed her on top of the clothes in the ground. With her clumsy welcoming, he had forgotten who was under him. But lust eventually faded. When Song Yangzhu felt some sort of hot liquid, she opened her eyes. Yemo stopped moving and stared at Song Yangzhu, who stared at him back. Yemo felt his face was burning, like a little kid found doing something wrong. He didn't dare move. Song Yangzhu's face was numb, her eyes were numb. She didn't move at all. When Yemo saw her face, he got anxious. He had never experienced that before. He had thought countless times of him being with Luo Ying and Ningqing Xue, sometimes even at the same time, but he had never thought of being with another woman, especially one that was from his enemy's family. Yemo didn't know what to say, so the two of them just looked at each other for tens of seconds. Song Yangzhu's eyes got misty and tears trickled down her eyes incessantly. She pushed Yemo away. He felt her hands were shaking very hard. Yemo didn't know what to say to comfort her. "I did this to save you." Song Yangzhu struggled to stand up and took a towel from her bag to wipe the blood on her leg. Then she slowly put on her clothes and packed her things. She just walked outside with that big bag of hers, not even taking the tent. From beginning to the end, she didn't say anything to Yemo, and he didn't know what to say either. After Song Yangzhu walked outside, Yemo slapped his head, packed everything up, including her tent, and chased her. Although he didn't love Song Yangzhu and she was her enemy, that woman was still his first one. Yemo was an emotional person and he couldn't just do nothing about it. "Don't come over!" Song Yangzhu looked back at Yemo with madness in her eyes. Her voice was a little cracked. Yemo believed that if he went to her, she might even try to kill him at all costs. Despite having his flying sword, he only had a bit of qi, hence Song Yangzhu might be able to kill him. Yemo sighed and threw her tent on the ground. "This is yours." Song Yangzhu picked it up silently. The madness in her eyes had become dejection. Then, she slowly turned away and left. The moon appeared and its moonlight was reflected on the snow mountain, lighting up the area with a smooth, pale light. Song Yangzhu's figure disappeared from Yemo's sight, but he still stood in the same place without moving for a long time. He didn't know how to feel. Was he wrong? Had he become soft? Yemo frowned. In the cultivation realm, power was everything and so was there. If he hadn't had power, he would have been killed long ago. The Song family wanted him dead, so why couldn't he kill them? How could he doubt his heart because of something like this? Cultivation was to pursue the great Tao that went against the heavens. If he couldn't even control his heart, how could he reach the pinnacle of power? Thinking about this, Yemo opened up. Even the confusion towards Song Yangzhu disappeared. He stood there and howled. He felt his wounds recovering a little. He was sure that once he fully recovered, his state would increase a step too. Song Yangzhu heard it, and paused for a moment. After Yemo's howl finished, she kept going. A white fox was hiding in a corner of the valley and, when she heard Yemo's howl, she carefully peeked out and stared at Yemo. Yemo turned back and saw that fox again, which was a bit strange in his opinion. It had managed to not be caught by him during the day, so why did it come back? Was it not afraid of being caught by him? Yemo turned back and saw that fox again, which was a bit strange in his opinion. It had managed to not be caught by him during the day, so why did it come back? Was it not afraid of being caught by him? The small fox saw that Yemo had noticed it and turned to run. Yemo smiled and didn't bother chasing the fox, instead walking into the remaining tent to recover. He had had some enlightenment just then, so it would be good to use the opportunity to cultivate. Meanwhile, Song Yangzhu had returned to the tomb she had been planning on digging through during the day. She didn't know what she should do now. Should she keep digging the tomb to find a way to get stronger and kill Yemo, or should she not kill him? She knew that Yemo had saved her, but she couldn't bear being saved by an enemy again and again, even losing her virginity to him. Song Yangzhu's heart was in turmoil. If she were to give up on getting revenge from Yemo, she would lose all direction in life. If her master was still the same to her as before, perhaps she could go back and cultivate, but after her master had distanced himself from her, her only motivation had been revenge. Yet now, that motivation had been blurred. Song Yangzhu didn't continue cultivating nor did she eat the black rising pill. She didn't want to think about Yemo and would rather nothing had happened. She could only bury the memories in the depth of her heart, never to remember them again. She even hoped that she would never have to see Yemo again. Song Yangzhu sat by the tomb for a long time before starting to dig. In the end, she realized that she didn't know what to do nor where to go other than doing what she had planned at the tomb site anyway. As though not knowing fatigue, she dug for 2 hours straight before eventually stopping because she stumbled upon a random passage. Someone must have dug a passage here, but due to a collapse, the entrance had been blocked. Song Yangzhu crawled into the tunnel with great care. After all, she had never raided a tomb before, nor did she know anything about checking oxygen and stuff. Luckily, she did know that ancient tombs had some danger to them. She had experienced some of that danger before, so she had brought a long sword with her. The tomb was dim, and seemed to stretch on forever. Song Yangzhu wore a mining torch on her head, but with the small amount of light it provided, the bleak tunnel seemed kind of eerie. Song Yangzhu felt goosebumps. This was clearly a tunnel deep inside the mountains, yet she could feel wind. The bleak wind made her shiver. She suddenly stopped and thought, what am I still doing here? Was she really going to get stronger to kill Yemo? Could she truly do it when she saw him? Song Yangzhu didn't dare think about it anymore. She felt that after the events of last night, Yemo's position in her heart had changed. She tried to avoid him, but she couldn't help feeling her killing intent towards him seemingly decline. She should just leave and find some place to live the rest of her life. She didn't want to see him ever again, nor anyone else she knew. But before Song Yangzhu could turn around and depart, she felt a sudden coldness from behind her and swung her sword back subconsciously. There was an almost indistinguishable shriek, and Song Yangzhu was scared into sweat. She was sure that her long sword had cut something. There was a huge rumble, and Song Yangzhu sensed the tunnel behind her collapse. Song Yangzhu was shook and quickly took out a shovel to dig. But before she could start, she felt that coldness behind her back again. Song Yangzhu dropped the shovel and slashed backwards once more. The frigid feeling disappeared, but Song Yangzhu didn't dare to start digging again. She felt as though that thing would try to scratch her as soon as she turned around, and this was a danger she could see nor sense. Song Yangzhu gazed into the tunnel and saw nothing special. She carefully picked up her shovel again, but before she could apply force, it actually broke. Song Yangzhu looked dumbly at this very high-quality shovel. She didn't know why it could possibly break. Were there really ghosts? Even though she was at the peak of the yellow level, Song Yangzhu still felt scared. She thought of the ghost she saw back at Broken Top Mountain. After standing still for a long while, Song Yangzhu felt a little sleepy. She bit the tip of her tongue and remembered that this place had to be lacking in oxygen since the tunnel collapsed. Was she going to die here? Why should she be afraid of death? Song Yangzhu thought, what would be the point to living anyway? Suddenly she didn't want to dig anymore, and she brought her long sword along as she walked deeper into the tunnel. It was as though the thing was scared of Song Yangzhu's sword, because Song Yangzhu walked for a long while without being attacked. As she walked along the path, Song Yangzhu saw a faint harmonious light emanate from somewhere. Had she walked out already? Song Yangzhu sped up. Even if she was going to die, she didn't want to die in a dark tomb like this. Seeing the source of the light, Song Yangzhu was stunned. From her birth till now, she had only ever heard of luminous pearls and fairy tales, yet now, she was actually seeing 8 of them. They were all embedded in the stone door, giving the tomb a royal feeling to it. 2 sets of bones laid together in front of the door, along with some scattered arrows. Song Yangzhu dazedly walked to the door and pushed it open. When Yemo woke up, it was already daylight. His chi had recovered a bit more, and although he couldn't leave on his flying sword yet, he would be able to in a few days at this rate. He shot out a few fireballs and burned the tents and the bodies before walking out of this silent valley. Although he didn't know what Song Yangzhu was doing here, since she'd left already, he didn't need to think about it. Even though Yemo was also embarrassed at the incident, he didn't feel regret. If he hadn't done what he did, Song Yangzhu might have gone mad. And since she chose to leave, so be it. Seeing how he was already in the Nei Snow Mountains anyway, Yemo thought for a bit and decided to go check where the tomb the Fu brothers had mentioned was at. When he took out the map, he was dazed. Were there such coincidences in the world? He was standing precisely on top of the tomb. If it were somewhere else, he would go after getting fully healed, but now that it was right under him, it would be a waste if he didn't check it out. Guillermo walked along the foot of the mountains for a bit, and stopped when he saw a tunnel, which seemed rather freshly made. Was it this type of coincidence again? He just found the place, and someone had gone in already? Wait, Guillermo thought of Song Yangzhu. She was the only who had been nearby yesterday. What was she doing here? Guillermo scanned his spirit sense in, and his face changed when he noticed the state of the tomb. The newly dug tunnel had collapsed. If Song Yangzhu was in there, wouldn't she be buried alive? Although Guillermo's she had only recovered a bit, he dug much faster than Song Yangzhu. In less than an hour, he made it into the tunnel. Guillermo had heard that this tomb seemed to have some ghost that scratches backs. But in front of Guillermo, it was just a measly little ghost. It didn't dare near even those who didn't cultivate yet had strong yen qi, much less proper cultivators. Guillermo scanned his spirit sense in the tunnel, and immediately saw a ghost in a corner. If he went in there alone, he wouldn't care about a ghost that wasn't going to attack him. But Song Yangzhu had gone in not long ago, the ghost might have attacked her. Guillermo scanned his spirit sense in the tunnel, and immediately saw a ghost in a corner. If he went in there alone, he wouldn't care about a ghost that wasn't going to attack him. But Song Yangzhu had gone in not long ago, the ghost might have attacked her. With these thoughts, Guillermo threw a fireball casually. The ghost immediately vanished, and the tunnel seemed less cold. Guillermo walked through the cave very fast. After a while, he saw a stone door with luminous pearls on it. There were 2 bodies next to it. Something wasn't right. Guillermo remembered that the Fu brothers had said there were 9 pearls, but he could only find 8 there. Also, at the time they had said that other than the 2 bodies, they also had someone killed with arrows. How come he didn't see that body? Guillermo didn't mind that. He cared about where Song Yangzhu had gone. How come he couldn't see her inside the tunnel? Guillermo knew that the stone door could shoot arrows, so he threw a rock at it, but no arrows were shot. Had all the arrows been used up? Regardless, Guillermo took out the 8 luminous pearls. They were worth a fortune. He wasn't going to leave them for someone else. After that, Guillermo approached the stone door. He was going to break it apart with his flying sword, but when he pushed the door lightly, it actually opened up itself. Guillermo walked inside and found that he was standing on a platform with a circumference of 1 meter. Outside the platform there was a deep abyss. Luckily, there was a stairway that led downstairs in the center of the platform. Just when Guillermo decided to go down, the stone door behind him closed. Guillermo turned around and tried pushing the door. Nothing happened, as though the stone door had been locked. Guillermo was angry. He had gotten tricked to go inside, and the door just closed on him. Without thinking, Guillermo took out his flying sword and tried to hack the door off, but his flying sword only got to cut 15 centimeters. He then realized that it wasn't a stone door, but a 30 cm thick steel board. The steel board was covered in 15 centimeters of thick granite on both sides. If it was someone else, no one would be able to dig through the door in their lifetime, but it was Guillermo. He used his flying sword and dug out a big hole in the door. Looking at it, Guillermo felt satisfied. Probably, not even the guy who designed the door could have predicted that someone could dig out such a big hole in such a short time. Then Guillermo walked down the stairs and kept his spirit sense out. After Guillermo had walked 100 meters or so, he saw Song Yangzhu. Song Yangzhu was at the bottom of the valley, in the middle of an underground river. Her situation didn't look good. Her face was pale and she stood on a rock in the middle of the river. She waved her sword in all directions, but there was nothing around her. Guillermo charged down the stairs without hesitation and threw a wooden board into the river. Then, he stood on it and went towards Song Yangzhu. But as soon as he did, suddenly countless strange black heads appeared around the board. These heads were trying to bite the wooden board, some even tried to bite Guillermo's feet. There was a foul stench coming out of their huge mouths with sharp crooked teeth. Guillermo was shocked. He had never seen such disgusting fish. They had sharp teeth and crooked scales, Moreover, there was a strange liquid between the scales that made them look very disgusting and ugly. Yemo quickly took out his long sword and hacked them. Foul stanching blood was splashed into the river, and the dead ones were soon devoured by the surrounding fish. Despite so, more and more of them kept appearing. The wooden board underneath him disappeared, hence Yemo quickly jumped and landed on the rock Song Yangzhu was at. Even if those fish couldn't do anything to him, he didn't want to touch them, but especially not since they didn't look herbivorous. If he fell in the river, he would die for sure. Song Yangzhu had already lost the bag and she has just kept hacking with her sword randomly, without noticing in any way that Yemo was next to her. She even stabbed him. Yemo seized her, and he immediately felt a bleak chi inside her body. It was because she had encountered the ghost, so after Yemo eradicated the bleak chi, Song Yangzhu calmed down. Although she had lost her torch, Yemo's familiar smell made her stop resisting. She sunk into silence. She didn't know how Yemo had gotten there as well. Before Yemo could talk, even more and more of those fish came to them, as though they were attracted by the smell of blood. Yemo took out one of the luminous pearl and Song Yangzhu at once managed to see her surroundings. She got so scared that she screamed. When she encountered ghosts or when Yemo took her virginity, she didn't scream, but when she saw those ugly fish, she couldn't resist the fear in her heart and screamed. The rock was too small and the water seemed to be rising, and neither Yemo nor Song Yangzhu wanted to fall in the river. Yemo would rather encounter 1,000 ghosts than face the fish. But Yemo couldn't use his flying sword there, he needed to think of a way to escape. Yemo sliced with his sword tens of fish, that were instantly killed. Before more fish could charge at them again, Yemo gave a luminous pearl to Song Yangzhu and said, "I'll send you up first in a bit. As soon as you get out, leave immediately. Then you would dash." Song Yangzhu murmured subconsciously. "You go first, I'll come up soon." Then, Yemo grabbed Song Yangzhu and threw her onto the stairs perfectly. Yemo kept killing the fish. He didn't have a better way to leave the river. He still had the wooden board, but there were countless more fish than before. Song Yangzhu stood on the stairs and looked dazedly at Yemo fighting on the river. His image got blurred under the dim light. Just when Yemo was trying to figure out how to get out of there, he realized something scarier. The fish could only stretch out their heads before, but now, after eating their own kind, they had started to grow legs and could slowly crawl onto the rock. Yemo felt goosebumps as he wondered whether he should use his flying sword. If his chi wasn't enough, he would fall into the river, and he would be finished. The fish reminded him of the insects in the desert. They had also become stronger after eating their own kind. What were they? "What are you still standing there for?" Yemo saw that Song Yangzhu was dumbfounded on the stairway and he couldn't help but yelling that. What was she doing? "You dash!" Song Yangzhu also got angry, but then she saw the fish slowly crawling up and felt extremely disgusted. She would rather die than see those fish again. Song Yangzhu turned away and left. When she reached the door, she saw the huge hole. She realized that it must have been made by Yemo, and she turned back to look at him. Rumbled dirt started to fall, and the stone door also seemed to be falling apart. If she stayed there a bit longer, she would be covered in earth. Song Yangzhu subconsciously ran forward as rocks and earth started to fall from everywhere. When she got outside, there was a larger rumble. The tomb was collapsing. The entire snow mountain seemed to be shaking. When Song Yangzhu got to a safe distance, she rejoiced. If she had been a little slower, she would have been buried alive. But then moments later she was dazed. Where was Yemo? Yemo had saved her, but he hadn't made it out himself. Song Yangzhu's mind went blank. Yemo hadn't come out after saving her. Song Yangzhu could already imagine Yemo being crushed by the mountain, surrounded by those horrendous fish in the river. Yemo hadn't come out after saving her. Song Yangzhu could already imagine Yemo being crushed by the mountain, surrounded by those horrendous fish in the river. She should be happy about Yemo's misfortune, but she wasn't at all. She stood at the bottom of the mountain, looking at the still raging rock slides and felt faintly melancholic. She didn't want to cry for Emo, but she couldn't hold back her tears. Why was she crying for her enemy? Why? She couldn't understand. It was as if she could still feel Emo's warmth on her body. Holding the luminous pearl in her hand, she remembered how they were still together as one last night, yet today, she was here all by herself. Revenge had been taken, but she couldn't pay back the debt she owed. Although Emo was her enemy, he had also become her man. Song Yangzhu thought about her man and fell into a daze. She sat there for an entire day, unendingly crying. Was she crying for having taken revenge or for the man that died? Only she could know. It wasn't until the third day when she finally left. The hunger she felt wasn't even the most torturous pain for her. It was the lack of direction and meaning she felt. But the past is in the past, it's best to never think of it again. Song Yangshu murmured. From today onwards, Song Yangshu doesn't exist. I've gotten revenge for the Song family, and now I'm leaving. Like that, her figure gradually disappeared from the outskirts of the Mei Snow Mountains. With that rumbling sound, Emo knew things weren't looking too good. He knew that if he didn't leave now, he would never be leaving. Emo grabbed onto some wooden board and wanted to throw it to serve as a foothold, but he saw that the stairway had been covered by rocks and earth. Emo instinctively threw the board down in the opposite direction. As expected, as soon as he stood on the board, the fish ate it all, but Emo only needed to gain some momentum from the board as he jumped and landed on the opposite wall. He used his flying sword to pierce into the wall, and used it to stabilize his body. As rocks and earth kept falling, many fell on top of Emo. There were some large boulders that smashed into the river, with the water even splashing as high as Emo. Emo quickly climbed some distance, and dug a hole in the wall. At any other moment, he wouldn't want to use his flying sword to dig into stone walls, but now, he had no other choice. Just when Emo managed to dug a hole to store himself in, larger rocks started falling. If he had been just a little slower, then no matter how powerful he was, these rocks would have smashed him down. There was another rumbling noise as more and more rocks fell. Emo's heart sunk. He knew something special must have happened. The entire mountain was shaking. He suspected that the wall he was in might fall too. Emo realized that he wouldn't be able to save himself like this, so he quickly started digging into the wall again. Another hour later, the rumbling weakened, but it was definitely still there. Emo estimated that he had to be somewhere in the middle of the mountain. He really was unlucky. He didn't know if Song Yangzhu got out either. Emo sighed. It would be for the best if he never saw her again, but he also felt deep down in his heart that she was his woman. He didn't want her to have anything with other men. Was I too domineering? Emo asked himself, but he immediately patted his head. His life mattered more right now. Why was he thinking about these useless things? The sound on the outside got much smaller, and just when Emo wanted to halt, he found that he dug through the stone wall already. What appeared before him was a huge valley. The surroundings consisted of stone walls all over, except for a small cave formation down below. This was such a strange place. Emo crawled down carefully and went around for a bit. He saw those disgusting fish occasionally in the river again, but there weren't that many. What was this place? Emo looked around and found a place to continue digging. He knew that if he didn't dig through this place, he wouldn't be able to get out. Emo stopped using his flying sword to dig. Although it wouldn't get broken by this much, Emo didn't want to risk it. This was his only magic artifact. It was half his life. He could only rely on the flying sword to get out on the other side. Luckily, he had a lot of weapons in his storage ring. While Emo continued digging, he cultivated and recovered his strength. This had become a habit for Emo. It was lucky that he had food and water in his ring too. A week later, Emo had fully recovered, and his power had as expected reached a higher level, the middle stage of stage 4. He was one step away from tertiary stage. In his joy, Emo dug faster. Another day later, he had dug into a new valley. However, at this valley, he could see the sky. Emo rejoiced. He could fly out of here on his flying sword now. Yemo stood at the cliff and sighed. He could finally say he had survived. Although he didn't get the crystals, he didn't lose his life either, and his power had even increased. But before Yemo got on his flying sword, he dazedly looked downwards. What he saw below was a mess. There were ruins and broken bodies all over the place. Yemo couldn't be more familiar with the place. This was the gourd cave he had escaped from. He had actually dug all the way here. He sent his spirit sense down and scanned the place full of bodies. He could even see Xiang Mingwang's head. Yemo rejoiced. That bomb was really strong. The entire gourd cave had been annihilated by it. But Yemo had to pull back his excitement, as he didn't see Renping Chuan. This meant that Renping Chuan had left. Yemo felt some worry. Renping Chuan was his biggest enemy. He would have even preferred it if only one person had died, as long as that person were Renping Chuan. But Renping Chuan couldn't fly, so how did he leave? Upon further thought, Renping Chuan couldn't fly, but it wouldn't be hard for a great heaven master to leave the bottom of the valley. Yemo landed on the square and carefully scanned with his spirit sense. He was sure that Renping Chuan's body was nowhere to be found, but Yemo didn't find a single living being either. This was impossible. Although most of the sect members were at the square, there were some that hadn't come out too. Where did all of them go? Yemo walked into the ancient main hall and didn't see a single person. He was getting more and more suspicious that there had to be another exit somewhere. At the center of the hall stood a 2-meter-tall stage with an ordinary black chair on it. Behind it was a dragon-inscribed veil. Behind the stage were 6 huge pillars, each with the same strange animal on them. Yemo inspected the animal and quickly recognized it to be the ugly fish he saw in the river. Why was this creature carved here? Yemo couldn't understand. Did the gourd cave keep them? What did they represent? Yemo scanned the area using his spirit sense and found a stone hole. It seemed a little strange, so Yemo walked towards it. Suddenly, he stopped his footsteps and felt the urge to run. "You're here!" An extremely old voice sounded. Yemo immediately got goosebumps all over his body. It was Renping Chuan. This old guy didn't die and was waiting for him here? How did he know he would come? Yemo had kept his spirit sense out yet still only found Renping Chuan from 30 meters away. How had Renping Chuan done that? "Since you're here already, come in." Renping Chuan's voice was as old and slow as before. "Since you're here already, come in." Renping Chuan's voice was as old and slow as before. Yemo tightly held on to his flying sword and carefully scanned Renping Chuan with his spirit sense. If he felt anything was wrong, he would immediately leave. He couldn't put himself within Renping Chuan's attack range. Also, Yemo had the feeling that Renping Chuan seemed capable of detecting his spirit sense. This old man was too scary. Soon after, though, he rested easy. No wonder Renping Chuan hadn't run out. His legs were blown off, and the area where they were supposed to be was covered by cloth. Yemo felt relaxed. No matter how strong Renping Chuan was, he couldn't do anything to him without his legs, so Yemo walked in slowly. "Your spiritual energy is very strange. I feel that even though you haven't come in yet, your spiritual energy can sense my actions and see everything about me. Tell me, how do you do that?" Renping Chuan sat on a stone chair. He didn't seem younger thanks to reaching great heaven, but actually seemed to have gotten older instead. His tone was very bland, and he didn't seem angry that Yemo had blown his legs off. Yemo sneered. "I have such great enmity with your sect, why should I tell you? Are you dreaming, or are you an idiot?" There was a sliver of anger on Renping Chuan's face, but he soon calmed down. He then said plainly again, "You're cultivating something very amazing. I've never seen an ancient martial artist able to fly on a sword. You're the first and only one I know who can." "That doesn't concern you," Yemo replied bluntly. His spirit sense was on high alert. This old man wasn't as calm and easygoing as he appeared. "You can sense I'm injured and that my legs are broken?" Renping Chuan frowned. If Yemo knew his legs were broken, things weren't going to be easy. Yemo said plainly, Since I came inside, I'm of course not afraid of you. Regardless of whether your legs are broken, there is just as great an enmity between us. Stop wasting time, and tell me what you want to tell me. Renpingchuan wasn't angry this time as he continued. Young man, you're called GMO, right? Do you believe that if that bomb had exploded 3 seconds later, I wouldn't have gotten injured? I had just reached great heaven and didn't even have the time to recover my chi when that bomb exploded. You can call yourself lucky this time, but you won't always have such fortune. Emo sneered. It's my business if my luck lasts or not. I was just passing by here, so if there's nothing else, I'll be going. Of course Emo didn't want to leave just like that. Renpingchuan's legs were broken, and he seemed to be injured. This was the best opportunity to kill him. Emo really wanted to kill Renpingchuan right away. He was at the Great Heaven stage, sure, but his legs were broken. He couldn't pose much of a threat to Emo. Not to mention Emo had also powered up, so he was much more confident of his odds this time. Do you think I can't kill you with my legs broken? Renpingchuan asked slowly. Before Emo could reply, he continued calmly. Leave behind your heritage, and I promise I won't touch you. I will even give you great wealth. However, if you refuse, then see for yourself if this broken-legged Great Heaven Master can kill you or not. Renpingchuan then followed up. You might be able to escape, but after you do, I will go to Flowing Snake and start a carnage. I don't mind turning all of your friends and family into feed for the water wolves. Emo had already wanted Renpingchuan dead, but now, he wanted it even more. Emo took 2 steps back and locked onto Renpingchuan with his spirit sense. He knew he didn't have a way to sneak attack him, and could only clash with the man hidden. But suddenly he noticed that behind Renpingchuan was a metal lid that covered a well to the underground river and the strange fish. Emo felt disgusted. So those strange fish are kept by you? Renpingchuan laughed. Strange fish? After you find out how useful they are, you won't call them mere strange fish anymore. If you agree to my demand, I'm willing to take you in as my disciple, and I promise you will be able to reach great heaven within 1 year. But my guess was right. Your spiritual energy can indeed see what's behind me. Renpingchuan's eyes were glowing from excitement just thinking about attaining that magical cultivation method. Emo didn't speak yet and just kept his eyes focused on Renpingchuan. He knew Renpingchuan still had more to say. Body-devouring water wolves, they aren't fish. Their blood contains essence chi of the flesh. A cultivator who drinks their blood can use their inner chi more efficiently and get stronger faster. There are no side effects, Renpingchuan informed. Emo almost puked after hearing that. Even if he had to stay at the chi gathering stage 1 forever, he would never drink the blood of those disgusting animals. Keeping hundreds of thousands of these water wolves, no wonder you were able to reach great heaven, Emo jeered. As though not seeing Emo's derision, Renpingchuan continued. Do you think just any water wolf's blood is useful? It has to come from an adult water wolf. To qualify as one, it needs to grow 4 legs and 4 claws. You must have encountered them yesterday, right? Emo was angry. This old thing knew about it, so that explosion had to have been related to him. Thinking about this, Emo sneered. So that explosion a few days ago was your work? You also knew about that ancient tomb? Ancient tomb? Renpingchuan shook his head. I don't know about some ancient tomb, but the underground river water wolves are all kept by my sect. I caused the explosion indeed, because no one can spill the secret of the water wolves. Even if it meant losing a lot of them, I need to kill the person who knows about it at all costs. Emo suddenly realized that if they could just casually be used to get stronger, then wouldn't things be too easy? With that many water wolves, each sect member could eat 1 or 2 a day. As though knowing what Emo was thinking, Renpingchuan said, Do you think you can just let them kill each other, and they'll automatically grow 4 legs? I can only say you're naive if you think like that. Although killing each other can make them grow their 2 front legs fast, they could never grow their 2 rear legs with only that. They need to eat living people to grow properly. So you dump the remaining Gourd Cave sect members into the water to feed those monsters? Emo asked subconsciously. Renping Chuan confirmed without hesitation. That's right. You blew apart the whole gourd cave, and without living humans, they would starve to death, so I could only feed my sect members to them. This was their contribution to their sect. Yemo breathed out slowly and sneered. You old piece of sh*t, you're really shameless. Eat my sword. Then Yemo swung at Renping Chuan with immense killing intent. This time, Yemo only used 80% of his chi to confuse Renping Chuan into thinking that he was using his full power. Rumble Renping Chuan punched out, and Yemo felt his sword chi get shattered as he was smashed back by Renping Chuan's chi. This time, however, Yemo was doing it on purpose. He flew out of the cave using that force, since it wasn't good for him to fight Renping Chuan in a small place anyway, especially when taking into account how Renping Chuan's legs were broken. When Yemo landed, he felt that Renping Chuan's chi had gotten much stronger than it was a few days ago, but it was lacking in quantity. Renping Chuan was heavily injured indeed. Yemo was shocked. This old guy was this heavily injured yet still so strong. If he were fully recovered, Yemo would have nowhere to run. Was a true Great Heaven Master really that scary? Chapter 502. A centimeter faster than you. Chapter 502. A centimeter faster than you. As Renping Chuan watched Yemo jump out of the cave, he was angry. He didn't expect Yemo to not care about what he was talking about and attack him. You don't want to reach Great Heaven? Renping Chuan tried to suppress his anger, but it was still obvious that he was furious. Yemo flicked his flying sword and said coldly, Great Heaven? I've seen it before already, nothing much. There's a Great Heaven in Beijing too, so I can always ask him about it. Why stay here in this terrible place? This is just too disgusting. Renping Chuan frowned. There's no way, the essence chi of the world is very low on the outside. There's no way to reach a high stage in inner chi cultivation out there. How can there be a Great Heaven cultivator? Unless he has water wolves too, but only the snow mountain water is capable of keeping water wolves alive. Renping Chuan didn't mention that even if you had water wolves, without understanding the laws of the Great Heaven, you can't reach Great Heaven either. He had gone into solitary cultivation for 18 years, yet wasn't able to reach Great Heaven. He was only finally enlightened on the Great Heaven laws when he experienced Yemo's flying sword. Of course, he wasn't going to tell Yemo that. There's someone called Tan Jiao who reached Great Heaven. Although he isn't as strong as you, but he's also a master. Yemo didn't say that he fought with Tan Jiao. He really wanted to know why there was such a huge difference. Renping Chuan sneered. Insolence, that's called Great Heaven too? If I'm not wrong, that Tan Jiao is at most the same as Xiang Mingwang after reaching Great Heaven. He probably wasn't even able to increase his longevity. Once you reach Great Heaven, your life increases by 60 years. If I hadn't been injured by the bomb, I would look much younger now. Before Yemo asked anything, Renping Chuan continued. There are many ways to reach Great Heaven. One is to keep up cultivation until you open up the Rin and Du meridians. I tried that for 18 years with the help of the water wolves, yet I wasn't successful. The second way is to, when your chi reaches its peak, find an opportunity to gain sudden enlightenment as though only then realizing that he was revealing his secret. Renping Chuan suddenly halted his sentence and said instead, Without the help of the water wolves, there's no way to reach your chi's peak. That Tan Jiao might have used an incomplete method of reaching a type of fake Great Heaven, pseudo-Great Heaven. Pseudo-Great Heaven is also a type of Great Heaven, and once stabilized, it is indeed far stronger than the peak of Earth level. Seeing that Yemo was still listening, Renping Chuan slowly reached his hand into the cloth. Yemo didn't seem to mind, so he continued. The main mark of being Great Heaven isn't having opened the Ren and Du meridians, but having formed a sea of Qi. Pseudo-Great Heaven cultivators can't form a sea of Qi. They can only store their Qi in the Ren and Du meridians. Thus, fake Great Heaven martial artists aren't that much different from Earth level ones. Suddenly, Renping Chuan pressed some device, and the place Yemo stood on suddenly collapsed. At the same time, Renping Chuan pushed himself off from his chair and flew up, palming towards Yimo's head. The strong chi slapped above Yimo's head, and there was a clank, the sound of a metal cage closing. Renping Chuan was sure that Yimo wouldn't be able to escape from that. As long as he kept Yimo in a cage, Yimo wouldn't be able to escape. He was sure that Yimo would tell him everything after he tortured him. Renping Chuan felt something was wrong though, but before he could react, a fierce killing intent pierced towards his ribs. Renping Chuan cursed. He didn't have time to think about how Yimo had escaped and managed to ambush him. He quickly flipped in the air, wanting to dodge the attack. But since Yimo attacked, he wasn't going to let Renping Chuan dodge. This was his only chance. Renping Chuan had no way of gaining momentum in the air while also being heavily injured, but when Renping Chuan landed, he would be at the disadvantage. Rumble even in the air, Renping Chuan's fist force still shattered Yimo's sword chi, making it so that it could only lightly slash his ribs. This was what Yimo expected. He only used 80% of his chi in the 2 previous strikes for this last coming attack. He never expected to be able to kill Renping Chuan in the air from the onset. Yimo focused 100% of his chi the final time and shot out a searing white sword light from his flying sword with infinite killing intent at Renping Chuan. Yimo knew this was his do-or-die moment. If Renping Chuan had any backup measures, he would be dead today. He was betting on Renping Chuan having no means left. Renping Chuan was furious. He knew that Yimo wanted to kill him before he could land, but Yimo underestimated him too much. He was still a great heaven master. Even if he couldn't get momentum in the air and was heavily injured, he wasn't someone an average martial artist like Yimo could face. Renping Chuan punched as fast as he could at the sword light. He saved some of his power, which he would use to counterattack when he landed to give Yimo the lethal blow. He believed that Yimo's 2 attacks must have used up all his power. But this time, the sword clashed with Renping Chuan's fist and sliced off his arm as it cut a 5 centimeters deep gash into Renping Chuan's waist. Not good! Renping Chuan's face changed. As he landed, he punched out again. Yimo was sent flying, but Renping Chuan was also forced to sit down on the ground with a pale face. Yimo's dantian was churning, and he immediately spat blood but felt relieved nonetheless. Although he was injured again, his plan had been fulfilled to perfection. Such a sneaky brat, you actually conserved strength. Last time you were almost killed, but you still didn't use 100% of your power. Was all that just for today? Renping Chuan didn't bother stopping his bleeding. He knew that even if he did, he had lost completely today. He just didn't expect Yimo to be this scheming. Yimo sneered and didn't say that he had simply gotten stronger. He just stared coldly at Renping Chuan with his flying sword at the ready. Thinking about Renping Chuan's power, Yimo was still shocked. If it wasn't for Renping Chuan trying to sneak attack him, putting himself in the air, he might not have won the battle today. Furthermore, if he hadn't powered up a little, he wouldn't have won either. Renping Chuan was very unsatisfied. He had only reached great heaven for a few days, yet he lost his legs and was going to lose his life to this young man. If he knew that Yimo was hiding his power, even if he got injured, he wouldn't have lost his hand and gotten this wounded. Renping Chuan spat blood and stared at Yimo before saying, "How did you know that I was going to ambush you? If you won't tell me this, I won't be satisfied in my death." Yimo moved far away from Renping Chuan. Although he wasn't injured heavily, if this guy tried to put out a last attack, he would be the one to suffer. He only needed to waste time with this old man now and throw a fireball or wind blade every now and then. Hearing this, Yimo smiled. "You know I have a spirit-sensing ability, but you're still this careless. I was wondering about what the gray button did on your chair from the beginning. Oh, and I have a small magic art called wind control. Precisely when your hand was 1 centimeter from that button, I started using it." Seeing Renping Chuan's face turn uglier, Yimo was getting happy. He wiped the blood from his mouth and smiled. "I was 1 centimeter faster than you during your attempted ambush. I was waiting for you to press that button. Good thing you were a good boy and pressed that button, successfully ambushing my afterimage." Renping Chuan spat out more blood. Yemo smiled even brighter. Sect leader Ren, you can die with peace of mind. I will make sure no such thing as the gourd cave exists among the hidden sects any longer. Don't worry about that. By the way, eat a fireball. Then, Renping Chuan saw a fireball charge over at him. He was more shocked. There was such an art in the world. His eyes were full of disbelief as he stared at the fireball piercing his chest. Chapter 503. A Place That Belongs to Him. Chapter 503. A Place That Belongs to Him. Yemo looked at the mere ashes Renping Chuan had been turned into, and stood there being dazed for a while. That fireball was just meant as a warning, and he was sure that if Renping Chuan had wanted to dodge it, it wouldn't have hit. Pity he still had some questions to ask him, where the spirit well was. But now, he couldn't find out the easy way. Yemo searched around the gourd cave, and only found some stone rooms and prisons. He didn't find the entrance to the spirit well. What a pity! If those 4 magical crystals were spirit stones, perhaps he could have used them to reach stage 5. Perhaps the spirit well wasn't here in the first place. Yemo left the gourd cave on his flying sword in disappointment. From then on, there would be no more gourd cave. As for the spirit well, he would go ask Feng Wu. Perhaps he was now the only one who knew its whereabouts. When Yemo came back to the entrance to the ancient tomb, he saw that everything had collapsed and that Song Yangzhu was also gone. She had probably left. He suddenly thought of that small fox. If he saw it now, he would be able to capture it easily. This past couple of days, Yemo had gone through too much. He wondered how Qingxue and company were. Thinking about them, Yemo no longer had the mood to stay and shot into the clouds on his sword. Although he hadn't left Flowing Snake for long, when Yemo came back, he felt the change. There were construction teams everywhere. Xiaohua was bringing people around on patrol. There were no longer those forced businesses on the streets. Yemo nodded. This was the Flowing Snake he wanted to see. When the land truly became his, perhaps he could build a city. Yemo knew that it was impossible to cultivate to the point where he could ascend to the immortal realm here. Since that was the case, he might as well find a place to live with his loved ones for the rest of his life. He didn't know if Qingxue came back already, but Yemo felt very uneasy. He felt guilty towards her. He knew that Qingxue had wanted to properly consummate their marriage, yet he went and had that with someone irrelevant. Ning Qingxue sat in her office, looking at the plans for construction, when she suddenly stood up. She had the feeling that Yemo had returned, a feeling that was inexplicable. Ifei, I'm going out for a bit. Ning Qingxue went downstairs and onto the streets. Yemo suddenly stopped as he saw Ning Qingxue run towards him from afar and suddenly felt a lot more peaceful. This was his family. Yemo! Ning Qingxue saw that her feeling was right. Yemo was really back. She excitedly ran into Yemo's arms. Yemo hugged Ning Qingxue and saw the merchants around him laugh. Ning Qingxue, who had always been very reserved, ran into his arms in the middle of the street. She must have really missed him a lot. You're back. Ning Qingxue woke up from her reverie as she realized they were in the middle of the street and struggled out of Yemo's embrace. Her tone was very soft. I'm back. Yemo grabbed her hand and felt at ease. This was what he wanted. Brother Yi is back. Xiaohua was like a trumpet and immediately ran over with the patrol team. Yemo and Ning Qingxue didn't have any time for intimacy after that. Su Yuehua, Yu Miaodan, Zhang Jian, Su Ping, Hu and Yi Ling all came over. Yemo felt warm. This was his home. He had decided that no matter what happened, he wouldn't let anyone come to Flowing Snake to hurt those around him. Half an hour later, Yemo and all the management-level staff of Flowing Snake sat in a huge meeting room. Yu Miaodan stood up first and said, I'll talk about the situation of the company first. Luoyu Pharmaceutics has very little variety in products, and the prices can't attract those with lower economic capabilities, which isn't good for the market. The majority of the market are in fact those middle-class citizens, so I suggest we expand into the lower price ranges of the market. Emo nodded and replied, Sister Yu is right, but right now our products are being supplied worldwide with high demand and low supply. When the beauty pill slows down in sales, we will push out the beauty medicine. Right now, we need more capital, and we're lacking producing power, so we can't excavate the lower end of the market yet. Also, how go the negotiations with Liu Sei in Vietnam? That was what Emo cared about the most. Things are still in the negotiation phase, but the two countries seem interested in our products, and they aren't planning on passing on them. Su Yuehua said. No rush. If they don't agree, I will think of ways to make them agree. Emo sneered. Although his territory officially belonged to the two countries, if he hadn't built Luoyu here, this land would still be a dumping site. Now that their company was doing well, they all wanted a share. Yu Miaodan intervened. If we build a city here, we have to take into account the land near Guilin which belongs to China. Should we start negotiations with them? Also, the Chinese military has sent people to negotiate with us wanting to sell the health pill together with us. Though due to issues concerning the pricing, we haven't reached a consensus yet. No need, we're in no rush for that piece of land. They can give us that wilderness at a later time. Emo waved his hand and smiled. Then he turned to Zhang Jiayan, ordering, Build 2 more factories for me. They need to be larger than the ones before and built in the same style as the beauty and health pill factories. Emo needed large amounts of money, and his factories were like money printing machines. Emo still felt like that was too slow, though. Who did a young man called Zhang Hua arrive here? Emo thought of that young man who was capable of making medicine. Perhaps he would be of good help. Master, he has come. He's in the herbal research facility. He likes the environment here. Should I call him over? Erhu said. No need, try to help him when needed, he has good talent. It's even higher than yours. Our 2 new factories will be depending on you too. Emo was very happy with Zhang Hua. Brother, there's me too. I have great expertise in herbs. Yiling noticed how Emo didn't praise her and was unsatisfied. Ning Qingxue smiled and pulled Yiling towards her. Your brother is definitely praising you in his heart. The meeting went on for 2 hours and Emo thoroughly understood Flowing Snake's progress by the end of it. He didn't point fingers at people that much. He only needed to point out a general direction, and they could do the rest. After the meeting, Emo made Su Yuehua and Su Ping stay behind. Ning Qingxue didn't leave as in everyone's eyes. When Emo was not around, she was the owner of Flowing Snake. Sister Yuehua, do you have something to say to me? He noticed that she wanted to say something but didn't. Su Yuehua nodded and said, After we had a negotiation with Liu Sei increased the number of their military near Flowing Snake. I suspect they could launch an attack at any time. I'm very worried about this. If their military comes, then no matter how prosperous Flowing Snake is, it would all be for nothing. Not to mention, it's completely legal for their military to come, since 80% of our land is actually theirs. Emo frowned. This was indeed a problem. If he had any better alternative elsewhere, he wouldn't want to stay here either. Su Ping nodded. She's right, hence I've started secretly gathering troops. Su Yuehua continued. Although Brother Su had started gathering troops, we have no weapons nor heavy armaments. Emo didn't worry about weapons. The gangs in America he knew were perfect for that, and even if he couldn't get weapons from them, he could always go to the U.S. military's vault for some. He would need to increase the space in his storage ring first, though. Suddenly the phone rang, and Su Yuehua spoke a few words before her expression changed rapidly. What is it? Emo asked. He had heard some of the call but not all of it. Liu Sei increased their military at the border of Flowing Snake again and sent 2 business management personnel requesting to fully take over Luoyu. They said all management personnel has 24 hours to leave Flowing Snake, yet all the technical personnel must stay. Right now, Fan Nan and COU are buying time with them, Su Yuehua said worriedly. Liu Se increased their military at the border of Flowing Snake again and sent 2 business management personnel requesting to fully take over Luoyu. They said all management personnel has 24 hours to leave Flowing Snake, yet all the technical personnel must stay. Right now, Fang Nan and Cou are buying time with them, Su Yuhua said worriedly. They're this unreasonable? Yemo almost didn't believe her words. You're saying while they take back Flowing Snake, they will take our company and our technical staff too? Yemo was really stunned. Su Yuhua nodded. Yemo sneered. If Liu Se had only told them to give Flowing Snake, that would still be reasonable, it was their land after all. But if their greed included his men and his company, that was too domineering. They clearly knew that their company wasn't registered in China, and thus thought Luoyu wouldn't be able to take their entire country on. Leave this to me. Sister Yuhua, you and Qingshu have further discussed the building of a city. Second brother and I will go. Yemo stood up immediately. He wasn't angry. In fact, he was happy. He didn't think Liu Se would really dare be that domineering. It was clear that they were simply trying to bargain. Seeing Yemo walk out, Su Yuhua didn't understand, but Ning Qingshu did. She knew Yemo's means, but there were some things which she couldn't reveal, so she said to Su Yuhua, Sister Yuhua, he told us to discuss about building a city. We should listen to him. Before Yemo had gotten downstairs, a gunshot shook the silence apart. 2 parties were facing off at the level 1 foyer. There weren't many people from Liu Se present, only 10 armed soldiers and 2 people who seemed like negotiation representatives. Yu Miaodan, Fang Nan and Zhang Jian were there too, as well as Yang Jiu, who had more than 10 guards with him. A member of the patrol squad laid on the ground. Xiaohua looked at the Liu Se soldiers in anger. From their contemptuous expressions, one could tell they didn't care about some weaponless Luoyu people. They didn't care even though they'd killed someone. Don't fire! One of the Liu Se representatives who didn't have guns quickly commanded, but his expression showed that he didn't care at all that someone had been shot dead. Perhaps in their eyes, they of the military were above all. No matter how good Luoyu was doing, they were still nothing but a bunch of citizens and merchants. They could treat them however they liked. Co Yi! Brother Yi! As soon as Yemo came, everyone greeted him, but everyone was visibly angry. They didn't have guns. Yemo understood that these people had come to assert their dominance to increase their bargaining position. Are you the president of Luoyu? My name is Misa. Our troops have misfired, which I am very sorry about. We will give the victim appropriate compensation and wish to express our sincere apologies. The man said very genuinely, as though his men had really misfired. Yemo sneered. He knew these people had come to assert dominance and test Luoyu's bottom line. If Luoyu acted overly timidly, they would send troops to take over the place then and there. If Luoyu acted tough, they would negotiate about some form of cooperation. They weren't afraid of Luoyu, but they were afraid of Luoyu causing too much drama on the international stage. Yemo was calm and didn't say anything. Seeing this, Yu Miaodan said angrily, These guys are too unreasonable. They clearly killed one of ours on purpose, yet they call it an accident. These people now not only want us to leave Flowing Snake but also want us to give Luoyu. Cou, Flowing Snake belongs to us, and as we need to set up barracks here, of course you need to move away. For our troops having misfired, we have already apologized and will definitely offer compensation, Misa said. Bull**T, how about I kill one of yours too and give you some compensation? Yu Miaodan was very angry. She had never been this angry yet ever since leaving the gangs. Misa saw that Yemo didn't talk and started to look down on him. This Yi guy was a coward. Everything would be easy for them now. Hearing Yu Miaodan's words, his face sunk, and he said, Cou, things don't work like that. This is our land. It doesn't matter if our military killed someone here. Us wanting to offer compensation is simply thanks to our humanity. We didn't actually do anything wrong. Are you threatening us? Yu Miaodan asked coldly. Yemo didn't speak, but that didn't mean she was going to back down. If you must think like that, that's up to you, Misa said. Yu Miaodan sneered. Flowing Snake belongs to Lu Se? How come I heard this place was ownerless? At the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, this was the home of a tribe called the Guanhe. Because there was no good land here, and it was just barren mountains everywhere with a lack of a reliable water source, the people living here moved away. 100 years ago, a Lu Se fugitive escaped here and gathered a bunch of men to rob by the borders, forming the Flowing Snake Fort. You're saying that this is your land because that fugitive was one of your men, right? You're making up stories! Misa didn't know about that, and was so angry he couldn't talk. His soldiers raised their guns. Yemo's eyes brightened up. He didn't know about this story either. Keeping that in mind, Yemo immediately ordered, "Sister you stay, everyone else should leave." Although they didn't know what Yemo meant, they still left. Seeing this, Yemo sneered at Misa. "You've got some balls killing people at my place." Misa was about to answer in derision, but before he could talk, Yemo flung out what seemed like tens of lights. "I've used these needles for quite some time already, you can enjoy them now. Using the military to threaten me? A small place like Lu Se has no right." Yemo's tone was cold. If he wasn't afraid of sullying his territory, he would have just used wind blades on them. Slump, the soldiers fell to the ground. All of them had a red dot at the center of their forehead. This man was crazy. He dared to openly kill their troops. This was like challenging their entire country. "You!" Misa pointed at Yemo, not knowing what to say. Yemo sat down, and another gold needle shot out. The assistant by Misa's side was also killed. "What? I'm leaving you alive so that you can tell the person in charge that I will be visiting him tonight. If you don't order your army to retreat from the border within 24 hours, you can all collect his body. Now piss off." Yemo was very contemptuous of this guy. Yemo felt more and more that this world was one where if you don't kill, someone will kill you. You take a step back, they abuse you harder. If these soldiers hadn't killed and had only threatened, then he would have at most mutilated them. "Second brother, when Misa leaves, tell him to take those trash bodies with him. Also, break his arms and legs," Yemo said to Su Ping. An hour later, Misa, with both his legs broken, scurried away with some troops from the outside. Although Misa had been the person in charge for this, he didn't dare order an attack without clearance. He had only come to threaten and apply pressure. He didn't expect this Coyi to be so decisive and kill almost everyone without hesitation. An hour later, Misa, with both his legs broken, scurried away with some troops from the outside. Although Misa had been the person in charge for this, he didn't dare order an attack without clearance. He had only come to threaten and apply pressure. He didn't expect this Coyi to be so decisive and kill almost everyone without hesitation. He had wanted to assert dominance by killing one, but immediately, all of the men he brought were killed instead. He would also be dead if he wasn't needed to return with a message. This wasn't what had frightened him the most. What he was shocked about the most was how that Coyi had killed his men. He didn't even see it happen. That was too eerie and frightening. He had to report this to the president. Yu Miaodan didn't wake up from her shock in a long time. Although she knew Yemo was strong, she didn't expect Yemo to be this strong. He merely waved his hand and more than 10 men were dead in the blink of an eye. Yemo was much stronger than when she first met him. Of course, she wasn't most shocked about this but about how openly Yemo had dared to kill Lu Se's soldiers. "Coyi, this would make Lu Se furious. Won't they start a war with Flowing Snake? We don't have any fighting power." Yu Miaodan woke up. No matter how powerful Yemo was, what if their whole army came, or what if they sent out airstrikes? Yemo smiled. Although a war happening was possible, he wouldn't let that happen. He could of course kill the army that came, but that wasn't his goal. Even if he was to kill, he would kill the general, or kill the highest commanding power, and Lu Se. "Don't worry, I will deal with the Flowing Snake business. Sister Yuhua will need to purchase large amounts of materials, so you and CEO Zhang should cooperate with her." Yemo had decided to go to Lu Se himself. It was best to take care of this early on. Emo really didn't want war. War would bring no benefit to Flowing Snake. This matter was best settled without startling any international organizations. Luoyu was just a company, after all. It wasn't smart for a company to go against a country. If Emo truly were powerful to a certain extent, even if it was just foundation establishment, that would be fine, but Emo wasn't that strong yet. Emo was planning on visiting Lucé at night, so he needed to ask Ning Qingxue about some things beforehand. He didn't even have time to be intimate with her. As Emo returned to his place, Ning Qingxue was already waiting for him there. Qingxue dash. Emo only just walked into the room, and Ning Qingxue already came up and embraced him, blocking his lips with hers. Emo hugged Ning Qingxue tightly. The two had been more apart than together. Ning Qingxue couldn't resist the longing for Emo in her heart. Emo lost himself in the softness and wetness, as that warmth and power she had made Ning Qingxue irresistible. The kiss went on for half an hour before the two breathed heavily and looked at each other. You have to go somewhere again? Ning Qingxue didn't want to let Emo go. She didn't want Emo to be always running around. She wanted him to always be with her. Although she did want a calm and carefree home, if that meant Emo had to work really hard for it, she would rather not have it. Sorry, Qingxue dash. Emo felt guilty about spending so little time with Ning Qingxue and about his affair with Song Yangzhu. Ning Qingxue blocked Emo's lips with her finger and said, I just want to be with you. If building a city is too hard, then just forget about it. No, it's not hard for me to build a city, and I want a place that belongs to me as well. I can't just bring you deep into the mountains like the hidden sects, so we definitely need to build a city, Emo said adamantly. Ning Qingxue didn't try to persuade him. She nodded. In fact, I'm sorry about another thing. The other day Emo was hesitant, but he still told her what happened with Song Yangzhu. Where is she now? Unexpectedly, Ning Qingxue asked about her. Emo shook his head. She probably left. I don't think she will come find me again. I just feel guilty to you and Luoying. Ning Qingxue didn't ask any further about Song Yangzhu and just laid in Emo's arms. Emo didn't know if she was angry or not and didn't know what to say. After a while, when it was already dark, Ning Qingxue's soft voice sounded. I want to stay with you this night. Emo felt warm in his heart. How could he not know what she meant? She was a conservative person, so for her to be able to say such words, it truly signified that Emo meant everything in her heart. She didn't even mention anything about Song Yangzhu. Emo lifted her face up and kissed her again. Qingxue, I said I would marry you gloriously. If I can't find Luoying, then when we build Luoyu City, it'll be our moment. There was something Emo didn't say. He really wanted to have that with Ning Qingxue, but what he also really wished was to find lots of resources so that everyone around him could reach foundation establishment. But that was very hard. Out of 1,000 cultivators in Luoying, only one could reach foundation establishment. Ning Qingxue's talent was good, but if he took her virginity before she reached foundation establishment, it would be harder for her. He didn't want to make her lose that opportunity. But he didn't want to tell her yet, since he didn't want to give her the mental burden. By the way, did those mutants come for you again? Emo remembered what he'd wanted to ask her. No, one time though, one of them apparently went to U-State and Yifei found out, but she didn't manage to capture him, Ning Qingxue said. Emo nodded. This thing wouldn't just end like that, but since he had returned, he didn't need to worry about it. After having dinner with Ning Qingxue, Emo left Flowing Snake. Emo went to the border and saw that the army didn't have any signs of leaving. He killed the scouts he saw on the way without hesitation. At that moment, the security was extremely tight outside the president's office. The atmosphere there had clearly increased in intensity. Marshal Mohance, Secretary of National Defense Eugene, and that Misa as well were all there. Eugene was short and had bulging eyes, with which he stared at Misa as he questioned. Is what you said true? He really killed 12 of our troops in less than a second and said he would be coming tonight? Maisa was sweating, and he quickly confirmed. I didn't lie about a single word. He really is that sort of person. I suspect he's a wizard. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. He wants us to retreat within 24 hours? Although our country is small, no mere merchant can abuse us. We won't retreat. Instead, tomorrow we move in. Secretary, do you believe this wizard bullshit? The tall and bulky Mohans commented. He was annoyed at Eugene asking this and that. It was just some guy who knew how to fight. He heard of many people who were strong at fighting one-on-one in China, but could they face an entire army? Hai Modin, the president, frowned and said after a while, That president probably came from China. Eugene nodded. That's right, we're still investigating more about him, though. But there shouldn't be any other forces intervening, Eugene said. But there shouldn't be any other forces intervening, Eugene said. Hai Modin shook his head. That's not what I mean. Although there's no clear statement saying who Flowing Snake belongs to, everyone agrees that it's our land. I'm worried that if that Emo really is a wizard, then no matter how strong our armies are, he can just kill our commanders. How are we going to fight that? Mohans said in contempt. If he's really that strong, shouldn't he be here now then? Didn't he make Maisa come tell us that he was coming tonight? Then how come I don't see him? No one agreed to Mohans' words, and he stopped halfway as well, because suddenly, an extra person had appeared in this room. Everyone stared at him, not knowing where he came from. Yemo had come to this meeting, but since he didn't understand a word, he could only walk out. He's the president of that Luoyu. So he's really a wizard, he really came! Maisa screamed. Hearing this, the guards at the door thought something had happened and rushed in, but as soon as they did, Yemo threw 2 fireballs at them, and they were turned to dust. Yemo then found a place to sit and sat down before saying, Maisa, it seems you guys didn't take my words seriously. There's not much time left from the 24-hour time limit. If you don't make a move soon, then don't blame me. I will kill you guys first, and then I'll take care of your army. I'll kill every living thing I see. Everyone realized now that what Maisa had said wasn't nonsense. He was the first to react and translated Yemo's words. Not only Hai Modin and Eugene's faces were pale, even Mohans couldn't say anything. They were sure Yemo was a wizard now, a strong wizard at that, like one from the legends that could curse an entire country. We agree. Without arguing any further, Hai Modin kept nodding. He felt regret for how greedy they'd been. Due to it, they offended a wizard. Lu Se was still an imperial state a little over 10 years ago. They'd only recently become a democratic country, so Mo Haiden's power was much stronger than other presidents. Our president agreed our army will retreat immediately, please rest assured. Maisu kept nodding like crazy. Yemo knew they wouldn't dare reject him, but he didn't think it would be this easy. Yemo didn't expect them to think of him as some all-powerful wizard. Since they'd agreed, Yemo didn't need to kill anymore. He looked at Maisa and said, Do I still need to give Luo you? No, we'll immediately give you the governing right of Flowing Snake. Maisa answered without even asking the president. This was too simple, wasn't it? Yemo had wanted to kill 1 or 2 higher-ups, but he didn't even have to ask anything, yet they already agreed. Sign this sale of territory agreement, and send it to Flowing Snake by tomorrow. Yemo took out an agreement, and dumped it on the ground. Then he shook his head and left through the window while invisible. This was for some extra show too. He needed to make them fear him. People fear what they cannot comprehend. The 4 saw Yemo disappear out of thin air and looked at each other. No one spoke for 10 minutes. If there wasn't for the agreement right in front of their eyes, they would have thought it had been an illusion. In her subconsciousness, Ning Qingxue felt like she was being embraced. She was shocked, but that familiar smell allowed her to realize that Yemo was back. In her joy, she squeezed deeper into Yemo's arms. Yemo used a few mind-calming chants to calm himself down and sighed. After that incident with Song Yang-ju, he seemed to have gotten a lower resistance to these things. The next morning, when Yemo was still in bed with Ning Qingshue's phone rung. It was Yu Miaodan. When Yemo and Ning Qingxue went into the meeting room, Yemo found that almost everyone was already present except for him and Ning Qingxue. Yemo didn't mind, but Ning Qingshue's face was burning red as though the whole world was looking at them. Yu Miaodan took out a document and put it in front of Yemo. Lu Sei gave up Flowing Snake for free and sent this agreement earlier this morning. They didn't make any requests. Yemo smiled. This was as expected. Wasn't he just too kind? A more evil person would have perhaps made Lu Sei compensate. As soon as Yu Miaodan finished, Su Yuehua got up and said, "In the morning, I received another news. Vietnam also said they're willing to give us the Flowing Snake territory, but they have some conditions. They have an entrepreneur who also wishes to invest in us. They want us to give them tax-free privileges and easy passage, and they want us to open an outlet in Vietnam." Yemo nodded. "These are two pieces of good news. We'll agree to Vietnam's condition. To us, it doesn't matter if we open an outlet there or not." Yemo then left Su Yuehua to deal with the city building. Once his power was high enough, perhaps at foundation establishment, he would set up a formation over the city, making it the strongest fort on earth. After the meeting, everyone went to their respective positions, and Flowing Snake became busy again. Yemo wished to go find Feng Wu now that all the planning had been pretty much taken care of. He wanted to ask about the spirit well and the crystals. He could power up from them, and perhaps after that, he could go to the inner hidden sects to find more herbs. After experiencing Renpingchuan's power, Yemo didn't want to casually enter the inner hidden sects and put himself in danger again. "Sister Yuehua, do you have something?" Yemo saw that Su Yuehua didn't leave and asked. Su Yuehua nodded and said carefully, "Last time, you told me to investigate the northern sand, and today, our men reported back with some news. It's from Vietnam." Yemo got excited. Su Yuehua took out a letter and said, "Northern Sand seems to have lost something important to them, and the member responsible for it has also escaped. They are searching for him all over. I have a picture of him." Then Su Yuehua gave the letter to Yemo. Yemo took it and said with praise, "The people you send out really are something, even being able to get a picture." Su Yuehua smiled and said, "This was also our luck. We didn't take the picture. They found a heavily injured Northern Sand member who was about to die and got it from him. Technical personnel has escaped." Yemo thought of the space flower blueprint. If that was what this man was responsible for, and Yemo managed to find the guy and bring him to Flowing Snake. Yemo quickly opened the envelope. In it was a bundle of obscure photos. "Luoing?" Yemo was dazed after seeing one of the pictures as he noticed a certain figure in the crowd. "Luoing?" Su Yuehua didn't know what Yemo meant. "Luoing?" Su Yuehua didn't know what Yemo meant. Yemo looked at the photo carefully and ignored the escaped Northern Sand guy. He only noticed a slim figure in one corner of the photo. That was Luo Susu. Yemo's mind had wandered off into the desert, under that searing sun, to the yellow-dressed goddess that was out of this world. Seeing Yemo seemingly lost in thought, Su Yuehua didn't say anything. Yemo was probably reminiscing something. She waited for Yemo patiently. "Sister Yuehua, do you know where this photo was taken?" Yemo breathed heavily. Even though the photo was dated 2 months ago, and he might not find her even if he went to the location of the photo, he had to go check at least. Su Yuehua shook her head. "We found this on the Northern Sand member. We don't know where it was taken." Yemo nodded and said, "Okay, thank you, Sister Yuehua. Stay alert on the topic of Northern Sand, but for now, put the main focus on building a city. We must build our own city." Su Yuehua said, "President Yi, our current power still comes from Guilin, but due to the scale of our constructions, the supply isn't enough, and if we want to make Flowing Snake our own, we can't rely on others too much." Yemo had never thought about this. If he relied on others, there would be a conflict of interest, and he would be held back. Thinking about this, Yemo immediately said, "We'll continue to recruit large amounts of technical personnel and excavate our own civilian facilities. We must control all of it." "But our funds," Suyuhua uttered worriedly. Although Luoyu was earning a lot, they were spending more than they made. Funds were an issue indeed. Yemo frowned for a while before saying, "I'll deal with the funds, you start on it in the meantime." After Suyuhua left, Yemo was left thinking about how to earn money in his office. He had face-preserving pills and luminous pearls, but these were unique items. Once they were sold, they'd be gone. But it was still better than not selling at all. If he took it to a normal auction, he wouldn't be able to sell much. That face-preserving pill AHD only sold for 100 million with Mo Hai's help. This was far from what Yemo would be happy with. It would appear he needed to go to that space organization from the Shixia temple. Only they could sell it for a higher price. Just when Yemo was thinking about how to earn money, Yiling ran in with red eyes. She was clearly worried. "Brother, something happened to second brother. He disappeared last night. Someone sent a letter to Flowing Snake in the morning for you, saying it's related to second brother." Yiling handed Yemo the letter. Was his name still not big enough? Someone dared touch Yi Zifeng? Yemo had stated that Yiling and Yi Zifeng were his siblings. If someone had dared touch Yi Zifeng, he would slaughter all involved. At the same time, Yemo wasn't too happy with Ten Jiao and Wan Qifeng. It was because they had agreed to protect the Yi family that he let Ten Jiao live, yet now, Yi Zifeng was abducted. "Don't worry, let me look at what this is." Yemo comforted her and opened the letter. The letter was very polite, too polite even. "Mr. Yemo, we've heard of your big name, and if possible, we would never want to mess with you or cause any misunderstandings with you. Hence, we didn't take your sister and took your brother instead. Please understand. Yi Zifeng is living very well here. We wouldn't mistreat him at all, so please rest assured. We just need to discuss some things with you personally, but because we had no way of seeing you, we could only use this measure. If you don't mind, please come to the Otherworldly Entertainment Center in Luotsang City within 3 days." There was no time nor person nor reason given, just a location. Yemo knew the Otherworldly Entertainment place. That was the HQ of Meadow River. Why did these people choose that location, in Luotsang City furthermore? Yemo got that this thing was 100% related to him, and that Yi Zifeng was probably just taken due to him. Who had he offended? He killed everyone who he offended. Even those people who might scheme to target him, they wouldn't dare to touch the people around him. "Yiling, don't worry. If you have time, learn to cultivate qi with Qingxue." Yemo patted her shoulder. With this, Yemo once again confirmed that no matter how strong he was, without his own land, a safe base, the people around him wouldn't be safe. As long as there were benefits involved, people would still target him. Ning Qingxue had also heard about it. Yemo wasn't too worried about her now, as she was already at the peak of stage 2 and had learned the fireball magic. She should be able to protect herself. "Qingxue, I'll leave the matters here to you. I will bring Zifeng back." Yemo stood up and said. Regardless of what their motives were or how polite they were declaring war by abducting Yi Zifeng. There were many ways to contact Yemo, yet they chose this one. Yemo had wanted to stay at Flowing Snake for a while with Qingxue and earn some money, but then this thing had to happen. He was very angry. There was just no end to these things. He couldn't even get one moment of peace. For the first time Yemo felt that there were more and more people around him, yet those who were really capable were only Suyuehua, Yu Miaodan and a few others. His men didn't have much power. However, if you take Qian Longtu for example, even though he was only a mafia boss, no matter where he went, he was someone feared. Was he too kind? For the first time, Yemo felt that he needed to arm his men. He needed his own army and stronger power. "Perhaps I should go to Sai now when I'm free. It'd be a good idea to store an army there," Yemo murmured. Thinking about this, Yemo suddenly stood up. Although the order of the world was already set, and it was hard to build his own army and city, since he'd made up his mind, he had to do it. He wouldn't allow others to control the fate of those who followed him. Luo-tsang. Otherworldly entertainment seemed much more grandiose than last time. Yemo walked in, and a pretty-looking waitress approached him immediately. "May I ask if you're Mr. Yi?" Yemo nodded. "Please follow after me, Mr. Yi." This waitress was very polite. It was obvious she had been especially waiting for Yemo. "Lead the way." Yemo's tone was calm. His spirit sense had already scanned the 30 people at the top, and Yi Zifeng wasn't there. The waitress took Yemo to a special elevator, and with it, they soon stopped at the top. She didn't follow Yemo out. Instead, 2 men in black were waiting at the door and gestured Yemo to walk in. Yemo scanned around casually. This top-floor room was around 200 sqms. There were 23 men dressed in black, and although they were seemingly empty-handed, Yemo knew that each of them had a gun behind their back. Liang Shihua didn't seem to have heard Yemo and said instead, "First, I would like to express my deep regret for having had to invite Mr. Yi Zifeng over, but we have a crucial request for you, and we would like to apologize for what we did." Liang Shihua seemed very genuine and humble. "Did you not hear what I just said?" Yemo hadn't seen Yi Zifeng yet, so he wanted to be patient for now. This time, Liang Shihua didn't play dumb and put on a difficult face. "Mr. Yemo, you could kill the Black Sun Ninja on stage, which would be another clear testament to your dominating power, but I'm not in control of the stronger people by my side." Yemo smiled. "That means if I were to put them to sleep, Mr. Liang wouldn't mind?" "Ha ha." Liang Shihua laughed. "Of course not, but I wouldn't be able to fathom what reaction they would have. I know your power, but there are 23 of them, not a mere 2 or 3. Then, Liang Shihua looked at Yemo with irony. He hadn't mentioned that these people had guns, but in this open ground, no matter how strong Yemo was, he wouldn't be able to kill them all in a few seconds. They could fire within a second, and no one would be able to dodge. Although once one reached the black level, one could catch a bullet, these guns were specially crafted. Even Earth Peak fighters wouldn't be able to stand his ground against one, much less so many. As though to back up Liang Shihua's words, as soon as he spoke, the 23 men took out their guns. "Since Mr. Liang won't mind, that's great." As soon as Yemo said this, he jumped up. Liang Shihua's face changed. He didn't expect Yemo to really attack. Did he not want to live? If the 23 people fired, even immortals wouldn't be able to get away. Even if, like those Black Sun Ninja, he could travel through Earth, he wouldn't be able to travel through this concrete floor. Liang Shihua didn't want Yemo to die. He had many ways for Yemo to die, but he just wanted to cooperate with Yemo. He knew Yemo was very strong and didn't want to offend him too badly. That's why he chose to abduct Yi Zifeng. He heard that Yemo cared about his women a lot. The reason why Yemo caused the Song family's decline was Yemo's wife, Ningqing Xue, and Dong Fan she had died for wanting to touch his sister. This time, Liang Shihua chose carefully and abducted Yi Zifeng. This wouldn't offend Yemo too much, yet would also let him know of their power. If they then lowered their attitude and gave some money, perhaps they could even establish a friendly relationship with Yemo. This would benefit them greatly. But he didn't expect Yemo to be this violent and attack immediately. Bang bang, the black-clothed men acted fast and shot as soon as Yemo jumped. But the gunshots stopped just as rapidly. After that volley, they stopped altogether, and Liang Shihua was dazed. Yemo stood where he had, as though he had never moved, but the 23 black-clothed men and the 4 black-level fighters had all fallen to the ground. If it wasn't for the blood trickling from their body, Liang Shihua would have thought they were just taking a nap. You dash! Liang Shihua froze. This many people having died this time, even he wouldn't be able to report back without consequences. They had lost 23 elite members and 4 black-level warriors just like that. These black levels were deemed precious resources within the organization. Each death would be called a huge loss, not to mention 4 deaths at the same time. Liang Shihua didn't expect Emo to react like this. The two men beside Liang Shihua were about to attack, but Liang Shihua quickly stopped them. He knew Emo had the power to kill the Earth Peak warriors too, and if these two died, his only option would be to kill himself. How can you kill so many of our men? Liang Shihua tried to force himself to calm down, but he couldn't. Emo smiled. I asked you before, and you said you wouldn't mind, so I killed them. Emo, I know you're strong, but you can't kill my men before we even start negotiating. If you kill all of us here today, can you annihilate the entire Northern Sand? Liang Shihua calmed down. He felt like he needed to make Emo know what sort of an organization Northern Sand was. No matter how strong Emo was, he was only one person. So they were from Northern Sand. Emo was sure that Suyuhua wouldn't have let others know that he was investigating them. In that case, why did they abduct his family? Was he easy to abuse or something? Hearing Liang Shihua's words, Emo sneered. Negotiation? When did I say I want to negotiate with you? Did I let you abduct my brother willingly? I'll say this once more, we can negotiate, but you must get my brother here first. Also, don't sit that high up or you might fall to your death. Are you not afraid of us killing your brother? And we invited you over to negotiate in the first place. Why are you so aggressive? I know you're strong, but our Northern Sand isn't something to be messed with. Liang Shihua was getting angry. He had already made his power clear to Emo, but this guy was still so arrogant. Emo sneered. You can kill Yi Zifeng, but if you do, I promise you that the three of you won't leave this meeting room alive, and from now on, I will kill Northern Sand people whenever I see them. I won't stop until I kill you all. Humph. That white-clothed man clearly understood Emo's words and wanted to fight right then and there. Liang Shihua stopped him, though. He knew that even if the two were to beat Emo, they would be heavily injured in the procès. Emo could even kill all of those Black Sun ninja. Although his two men were strong, none of them could kill so many ninja alone. Liang Shihua's expression showed his anger. Emo was too cocky. But he had to do what Emo said. If he had dared do that, he was sure he would also kill the three of them. Liang Shihua's expression showed his anger. Emo was too cocky. But he had to do what Emo said. If he had dared do that, he was sure he would also kill the three of them. Although he wasn't happy about his men being dead and the fact that the negotiation power was in Emo's hands, Liang Shihua had no choice now. He pressed a button on the table and said, Bring Yi Zifeng here immediately. After that, Liang Shihua said again, Mr. Yi, we are gathered here to have a genuine discussion with you, but you killed 27 of our elite men as soon as you came. Is this the way you do things? Our Northern Sand isn't something to be messed with easily. Even if you're absurdly strong, you can't protect the Yi family and Flowing Snake all by yourself. Emo smiled. If you want a genuine discussion, then don't play tricks. As I said before, don't threaten me. Your Northern Sand is strong and that's your business. I have no intentions of becoming your enemy, but I'm not afraid of you either. Emo knew that Liang Shihua was not someone that got easily subjugated. The reason he was acting soft wasn't because he was afraid of death, but because the thing they were going to discuss with him was very important. You're very arrogant, and if you think you can go around showing off just because you killed that ninja, then you're wrong. That ninja was nothing. I, Qinjue, could have also killed him in a short time. Emo, we don't want to get into a fight with you, not because we're afraid of you, but because we have no conflict of interest. A friend is better than an enemy. It was the Earth Peak level man speaking. Liang Shihua frowned, and he thought it was a bluff. The ninja had been said to be able to easily kill Earth Peak level martial artists. Emo looked at Qinjue with surprise. He didn't think Qinjue was lying. After all, the ninja was only good at movement techniques. Those who fought him the first time were at a disadvantage, but once one figured out his movement, he would be at most an Earth-level middle-stage martial artist, or even less. Emo realized that Yi Zifeng had now entered an otherworldly entertainment. He didn't want Yi Zifeng to see the bloody scene, so he scanned Liang Shihua and said, Let him go alone. Liang Shiwen knew what Yemo was talking about, so he gave the order. Since Yemo was here, there was no point in keeping Yi Zifen. Okay, now that your brother has left, can we start our negotiation? If you wish to continue negotiating, then please come into the secret room. Liang Shiwen got up and said. Yemo smiled. Liang Shiwen didn't dare to sit above him then, so he said. In that case, please. It was as though nothing had happened and the bloody scene was not related to Yemo. Liang Shiwen regained his composure and led Yemo into a small room. This room wasn't big, at most 40 square meters, but Yemo found 3 cameras as soon as he came in. They were well hidden, but no matter how hidden they couldn't escape from Yemo's spirit sense. He took out 3 golden needles and destroyed the cameras. All of this happened in an instant, and no one noticed. Although Yemo didn't know why Liang Shiwen was taking him there under surveillance, he didn't like to leave evidence behind. Mr. Yi, let me introduce them to you. These 2 men are Qinjue and Peter. I hope the discussion will go smoothly. Liang Shiwen introduced each other. Yemo sat down and said straightforwardly, Mr. Liang, if you have something to say, just say it. No need to waste time. Yemo knew that a conflict had developed between them. No matter how polite he would be, Northern Sand wasn't going to give up on getting revenge. And even if they were to get revenge, they would have to do it after Yemo died. He had heard about their organization. They had great ambition and they wouldn't offend a master like him for 20 or 30 irrelevant people. Then I'll say it. Mr. Yi, I believe you've heard about the issue with the He Feng Yuan family, right? Although you didn't appear, we know it has something to do with you. Liang Shiwen stared at Yemo and said. Yemo sneered. There was no point in denying it. That's right, I annihilated the Yuan family. Great, I love your courage for admitting the things you have done. Liang Shiwen clapped and said. But then he added. Yuan Jirong is an outer member of ours, it was his fault for going against your Luoyu. However, we left something with the Yuan families, and for some reason later on we couldn't find it on Yuan Jirong. Then, Liang Shiwen stared at Yemo studying his expression. He was looking for something. Liang Shiwen gave him a long stare, but he didn't get what he wanted, so he continued. Later on, we believed the government had it, but after investigating, we are certain the government doesn't have it. So someone must have taken it. Hence, we invited you over today wanting to ask if you've seen it. Yemo thought about it. It was probably the golden case he found next to Yuan Jirong's crash. No wonder no one stopped the plane from leaving back then. There were Northern Sand people among the higher-ups too. Northern Sand was really scary, they were everywhere. What thing are you talking about? Yemo frowned and asked. His expression showed that he knew nothing about it, and irritation. Liang Shiwen's heart sunk. He had studied countless people and he was very calculating and experienced, otherwise, he wouldn't have been responsible for that, but he couldn't get anything from Yemo's expression. Even if Yemo denied it, as long as he knew it was on Yemo, he would have been able to get it from him through other ways. If it had been someone else, they would have captured him and interrogated. Now Liang Shiwen understood why his higher-ups didn't do that. He only had that chance, and now that Yemo had asked, he said, It's a golden case with a fist-sized crystal inside. It looks like diamond, but it's not, it's a type of ore. This thing has no use for others, only to our Northern Sand. If Mr. Yi could find it, we're willing to pay 10 billion for it. Yemo was shocked. Not even a diamond's worth could compare to that price. What kind of crystal was worth that much? It seemed he needed to have a closer look at it. If that thing was that precious, he needed to find out from Liang Shiwen what it did. $10 billion wouldn't be used up in a long time, even in Flowing Snake. This Northern Sand really was wealthy. If he killed them, wouldn't all that wealth be his? 10 billion wouldn't be used up in a long time, even in Flowing Snake. This Northern Sand really was wealthy. If he killed them, wouldn't all that wealth be his? Thinking about this, Yemo was excited, but then he thought, that doesn't seem very possible. It said there are a lot of northern sand bases. How could he annihilate them all? It wasn't just killing 30 people like today. It was reasonable that he killed today, because it was northern sand that offended him first. But if he really pissed off northern sand, he wouldn't be able to protect his people with his current power. Thinking about this, Yemo was dejected. He was a mighty cultivator, yet he couldn't even protect those by his side. It seemed he would need to cultivate faster and increase the power of his men. No matter what, he needed to know what the crystal was for. He couldn't ask questions with all these guys around, so he had to come back at night and ask privately. Other than that, the 10 billion also interested Yemo. He wasn't going to pass on that. Thinking about this, he asked, Mr. Liang, if that crystal is only fist-sized, wouldn't Yuan Jirong have hid it in a secret place, and you guys might have missed it? Liang Shihua shook his head immediately. That's impossible. We have a detector which can detect it within 1,000 meters, and it didn't find anything at the Yuan family. No wonder even with the power of northern sand they didn't attack him straight away. They did suspect him and probably even went to Flowing Snake to check, but of course, they hadn't found anything. Storage rings were really good things, weren't they? Yemo knew that there was no high-tech in the world that could detect what was inside his ring. Yemo suddenly looked intensely pensive, as though making a hard decision. Mr. Yi, although we don't know why Yuan Jirong would blow up his mansion, the secret meetings footage that was leaked was probably related to you, right? You've been to his house, and that's why we're asking you if you know where it was. Liang Shihua reacted to Yemo's expression just the way he wanted, and this made him excited. Yemo smiled. I was the one who moved the bomb to their mansion, and you're right, I made the footage too. Although I don't know what that crystal is, I will go try and find it. Simply for that 10 billion alone, it's worth it. Liang Shihua frowned. He didn't quite get what Yemo was thinking, but he thought Yemo didn't know where the crystal was. In that case, we won't disturb Mr. Yi anymore. I'm deeply regretful about this misunderstanding. Of course, if you do manage to find the crystal, please contact us at first notice. This is my card. Liang Shihua got up and handed Yemo a golden card. Yemo suddenly reached out his hand to Liang Shihua and said, I'm very sorry, Mr. Liang. I didn't think it was something this small. If I had known, I wouldn't have offended the northern sand. I hope you can understand my desperate feeling at the time. At the same time, I wish to help Mr. Liang find that crystal as fast as possible. Mr. Yi, this is like getting to know each other through conflict. If Mr. Yi can really find the crystal, then even bigger conflicts wouldn't matter at all. Liang Shihua said with a smile. Yemo sneered. He knew that Liang Shihua was implying that this thing wasn't over. If he found the crystal, things might be better, but if he didn't, he would be receiving Northern Sand's fury. Yemo shook hands with him just so he could mark him with his spirit sense. He wasn't going to let this Northern Sand off easily. Naturally, since I've decided to help you find the crystal, I will look for it wholeheartedly. How much time are you willing to give me? Yemo knew that he hadn't completely started war with Northern Sand yet. He needed time to develop his own strength. Liang Shihua was dazed. He thought Yemo was just agreeing on the surface, but wouldn't be doing anything, yet now it seemed that Yemo really wanted to help them find the crystal. Liang Shihua said happily, I think if Mr. Yi can find it in a year, then not only will you get the 10 billion easily, but you will also get other surprises. What Liang Shihua didn't expect was that after shaking hands with him, Yemo shook hands with Peter and Qinjue too. His expression was hospitable and deeply regretful, as though this misunderstanding was all his fault. Not only Liang Shihua, but also Peter and Qinjue were weirded out by Yemo's drastic change in attitude. They didn't think of Yemo as someone timid, so after thinking about it a bit, only that 10 billion could explain things. Yemo left otherworldly entertainment, but he didn't leave Luo-san yet. He still had some business to take care of that night. He had marked them all. After making sure no one was following him, Yemo went into another busy district and wanted to find a bar. Then he heard someone call out his name. Brother Mo. A young girl's voice sounded. It's you, Yang-yi? Yemo remembered her. This was the girl which sat in the same carriage as he did when he first came to Luotsang by train. She wasn't that pretty, but she was a very kind soul. After finding out that Yemo had had his wallet stolen, she wanted to give Yemo money, but Yemo didn't take it. It really is you. Brother Mo, it's been so long. After you and Erhu left, you never contacted me again. Yanyi said happily. Yemo looked at her awkwardly. If he didn't see her here, he would have forgotten her indeed. Xiaoyi, who is he? A guy of medium build walked over and looked at Yemo in confusion. Yanyi quickly said, This is Brother Emoing. He's very good at medicine. Brother Emo, this is my boyfriend, Lu Shang. By the way, how is your clinic going? Yanyi spoke a lot. Hello, I'm Lu Shang. Yang Yi's boyfriend shook hands with Yemo in a friendly manner. Yemo then said embarrassingly to Yang Yi, Sorry, Yang Yi, I should confess that due to certain circumstances, I didn't tell you my real name in the past. I'm actually called Yemo, and I stopped by clinic. Who is doing very well. You're welcome to come hang out with us when you have time. Before Yang Yi could reply, a group of people came. Yang Yi, Lu Shang, what are you two still doing here? Let's go! A young girl called out. She was a little short, but her face was very exquisite. Okay, we're coming. Yang Yi turned to Yemo and said, Sorry, we're about to graduate, and we're having a celebration. Why don't you come with us? I don't think it's appropriate for me to go. Yemo wanted to go find Liang Shigui and company at night. He wasn't interested in these gatherings. Yang Yi whispered in Yemo's ear. This time, it's the richest person in my class paying for everyone at Yunshang Pearl. It'd be a waste not to go. Yemo knew that restaurant. It was a 5-star restaurant, but right now, he wouldn't want to go to even an 8-star restaurant. Before Yemo could reject, Yang Yi said, You'd get to see an extremely beautiful girl today. Gu Mingnan literally found her. Yemo smiled, but didn't talk. Do you not believe me? He really found her. Last time when he went deep into the mountains to play with some friends, they found her unconscious and injured. Gu Mingnan saved her, and she stayed at his house. It's said that she's getting better, and so he's bringing her tonight to show off. Yang Yi explained. Come on, let's go together, Brother Yi. I still want to go see Erhu after dinner though. Then Yang Yi dragged Yemo along. Come on, let's go together, Brother Yi. I still want to go see Erhu after dinner though. Then Yang Yi dragged Yemo along. Yemo shook his head and thought he might as well go. Yang Yi, who is that? That small girl asked as she saw that. Yang Yi let go of Yemo and said, He's my cousin. If you're interested, I can introduce you. The girls laughed and started asking about Yemo. The group entered the Yunshang Pearl in laughter and joy. The place was indeed very grandiloquent. Yang Yi's gathering took place on the 9th floor. When Yang Yi brought Yemo in, there were already more than 10 people there. Seeing Yang Yi, everyone greeted her and soon started talking about the girlfriend Gu Mingnan had found. Eventually, even Yemo got curious. He wanted to see what sort of woman would be able to cause such a ruckus. After listening for a while, Yemo only found out that the woman was called Luo Luo and that she was much prettier than even movie stars. Other than that, he also heard that Luo Luo had been found near the Duanheng Ranges. It was said that Luo Luo had been very depressed ever since waking up and didn't talk much. Brother Yi, if it wasn't for the fact that she was found by Gu Mingnan, I would think you two match quite well. She seems to have the same temperament as you. It's that feeling you can't really describe, Yang Yi said. Yemo smiled and didn't say anything. Lu Shang quickly said, Xiaoyi, don't say that. If Gu Mingnan finds out, he won't be happy. Aren't you a bit too timid? Yang Yi said loudly, and her voice caught the attention of many other students. Lu Shang blushed and didn't say anything. Yemo quickly signaled for Yang Yi to sit down. He could tell Lu Shang was a careful person and cared about her a lot. Mingnan and his girlfriend, Luo Luo, are here, let's applaud. At this time, someone clapped. A young man and a woman in her 20s came in. The woman had a faint white veil over her face, and even though she wore a dress, her figure was quite easy to make out nonetheless. She had a small waist and pearly white skin. Yemo moved his eyes onto the woman, and immediately felt like he was familiar with this woman. Yemo soon realized who it was. It's actually her. No wonder she was found in the mountains. Ming'an, take her veil off, let us see her! People all around cheered. Gu Ming'an laughed and said, Luo didn't want to come, but today is our graduation celebration, so she still came to see everyone, but she'll be leaving immediately. Luo, take off your veil dash, Gu Ming'an said, but he noticed how her eyes were glaring at a student in the room. Gu Ming'an also looked over. Yemo shook his head. He knew that this woman had recognized him, so he could only stand up. Just as Yemo wanted to say something, this woman ran up to him and grabbed his hand. She seemed to want to say something yet not be able to. Although Yemo also wanted to ask why she was here, he knew that now wasn't the time. Gu Ming'an looked at the two dazedly and didn't know what to say. After a long while, he reacted and asked desperately, Luo, who is he? What are you doing? Sorry, Ming'an. I just saw my brother here, and I remembered some things. Thank you for taking care of me during this time, but I'll be going back with my brother. The girl spoke while taking off her veil. But no one was paying attention to her words anymore as they all stared at her face. It wasn't extremely beautiful, but it had a royal and heavenly vibe. Yemo touched his nose and didn't disagree. Although he was wondering why Luo Xian's big martial sister had reached a state where she lost all of her inner qi, he didn't deny knowing her. On Luo Xian's account, he would help her if he could. Besides, Yemo suspected that the Ni Luo Sutra was on her, so he still needed to ask her about it. You're saying he's your brother? Gu Ming'an didn't react for a long time. Luo Yin nodded. Yes, I didn't remember before, but now that I saw him, I remembered. Gu Ming'an looked at Yemo with suspicion. Yemo didn't look like a brother who just found his lost sister, but he couldn't force her to stay with him. He had saved her but hadn't even been able to touch her hand when she woke up. His frustration made him think, I must get this woman. With my family's power in Luotsang, so what if she found her brother? Yemo could already tell that Gu Ming'an wanted to take advantage of Luo Yin. Thinking about this, he sneered at Gu Ming'an's ignorance. Ancient martial artists like her were ruthless. They weren't innocent souls like Luo Xian. Although Gu Ming'an had saved Luo Yin, if he kept trying to take advantage of her, Luo Yin would kill him all the same. The reason she hadn't was because she was heavily injured. Yang Yi and everyone in the room froze. They didn't expect Yemo to be Luo's brother. This was too comical. Those with a meticulous heart could already see the problem, though. There was no excitement of the reunion of siblings to be seen. Yemo, you're Luo Xian's boyfriend, can't you look a little happier seeing me? Luo Yin obviously wasn't happy with Yemo's attitude. Yemo was shocked. If Luo Yin was injured like this, how would Luo Xian be? Luo Xian was very innocent and kind-hearted. She had even given Yemo 2 of those important golden papers. She had even been willing to jump off with him. In his heart, Luo Xian was just as important as Yi Ling or Tang Beiwei. What happened to Luo Xian? Yemo grabbed Luo Yin's hand with a worried face. Luo Yin felt a sliver of envy. If only she could have someone who worried about her like that. Luo Xian is fine, don't worry. Luo Xian doesn't know what happened to me. If nothing unexpected has happened, she should be in a safe place at the moment, Luo Yin said. But Yemo was still concerned, and he still had a lot to ask her about, but he knew this wasn't the place to talk. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.